because he knew he was off and he left. I mean, that's gotta.
Yes.
I can't, as like the guy's brother, I can't even imagine what that feels like.
You know, Mark warned Dave. Said, listen, the guy's not all there. And Dave thought, you know what? I met him. I think I could control him. And he was able to control John for a while. You know, Dave was the only one that John would listen to. And I believe that's when John cracked, Dave was the first one that he wanted to kill because
What's up, guys? If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video. And if you don't have time to watch this episode right now, I'd really appreciate it if you saved it to your watch later playlist on YouTube. Finally, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or X, those links are in my description below. You know, Kurt, I was thinking about you in the gym this morning. That came out really wrong. Shit, that was a bad start, but in a good way. It was because, you know, I'd seen your documentary a few months ago, and it blows me away that somebody like you, who is a human being just like me, can have a broken neck and continue to train at a high level and not take a year off and get surgery and do all that because you have your eyes on this prize that you've been chasing your whole life. Like, how do you mentally get around something as scary and dangerous and life-threatening as a broken neck to continue training?
You know what? I just wanted to succeed. I just wanted to win an Olympic gold medal, and it was my dream for my whole entire life. And I've always been hobbled with injuries. And, you know, in college, I had a few knee injuries where, you know, it set me back, where I didn't win a national title one year. I actually took second. And so I'm used to being injured. I've been injured 90% of my career. And I learned how to work around injuries. And not that, you know, that was okay that I had a broken neck and it was going to be an easy adjustment for me to wrestle in the Olympics. But that's what I set out to do. And I felt like nobody was going to stop me from doing it. The only one that could have stopped me is the doctor, if he wouldn't have cleared me to wrestle, but he did. So I knew I was able to do it. And as long as I knew the doctors were okay with it, I was okay with it.
Those were some old school doctors too, right?
Yeah.
Ice up some.
There weren't a lot of liabilities in the mid-'90s, you know, like today, you do that today, man, you're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, probably for the best, to be honest with you. But I just, like, to see someone go after their dreams and do things that other people are not willing to do is always inspiring to me, no matter what it is.
Thank you.
And to look at the schedule you had. You said you were training like 10 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. What was a day like?
A day, I wake up in the morning early. I would do a 6-mile run in about 35 minutes. Then I would do 20 100-yard hill sprints with my partner on my back. So I go out, I sprint up and jog down, with the partner on my back. And then I would do an hour of Airdyne where I would go a minute really hard and then a minute where I was going idle. And I do that for about an hour. Then I would stretch and do the sauna, and then my morning session would be done. Then the afternoon session was, you know, working on technique for an hour and a half, then wrestling live for 2 hours. Then I would do conditioning for about an hour.
Wrestling live for 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Every day, yes. So I would do that, and then I would condition for an hour, and then that would be my afternoon. And then my evening training was weight training, strength training, plyometrics, working on my core, and more cardio, more conditioning. So I'd say I was doing a total of about 10 hours a day, and I was doing it every single day. I took a half a day off, 1 day a week, one day a month. Yeah.
Good for you. You earned that.
You know what? When you're an athlete training for the Olympics, and you are so prone to training all the time, your body recovers a lot quicker because it's used to being under that amount of stress every single day of working out and training. So my recovery time only took me like 6, 8, 10 hours.
That's insane.
Usually for an average person, it's 2 days recovery time. But just for me, I just needed 6 to 8 hours.
But also for like the above average person who trains hard, you know, maybe 5, 6 days a week or whatever, lifts every day, does things like that, is in phenomenal shape. they're not like they're doing 2 hours, maybe
Right,
90
right.
minutes. You're
Yeah.
doing 3 sessions. That's almost 10 hours.
Yeah.
And you said you ran 6 miles in 35 minutes?
35 minutes, a little under 6 minutes a mile.
How tall are you?
5'11".
And how much did you weigh then?
210 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. So
210, 5'11", built like a brick shit house, running less than 6 minute miles for 6 miles.
not bad, huh?
That's, I don't know if that's a little, that might be a little bit of genetics too. There might be something
I think
there.
so. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that like that mentality though, to be able to train and work like that? Was that something you started doing as like a little boy? Like were you pushed to do it or?
Yeah, I mean, I had 4 older brothers. They were all wrestlers, and I wanted to be like them. And they taught me the work ethic that I needed. My father too, and sports were always important to him. So you know, we all became wrestlers. And the crazy thing, I do want to tell you this short little story.
Please.
The reason why we got into wrestling is because my brothers were getting in so much trouble when I was younger. They were getting in fights, stealing stuff. You know, at one point they were dealing drugs. I mean, it was really bad. And my brother Mark ended up going to juvenile delinquent center his 9th grade year because he got in too many fights, and he actually beat up 2 cops.
Oh.
And he stole a bike, and he was running from the cops or riding away from the cops. Cops caught up to him and tried to stop him. He knocked both of them out.
Oh.
My brother Mark was 5'11", 185 pounds in 8th grade. So he was like a kid in a man's body. So he knocks these cops out, and he rides home. And little does he know, the cops knew who he was and where he lived. So there were cops waiting for him at home.
Oh, boy.
And they took him away. And he went away for 2 years. And every weekend we would go see him. He would threaten my mom, I'm going to break out. If you don't get me out of here, I'm going to break out. And he was just out of control. So when he got back home after 2 years of being in juvenile delinquent center, the wrestling coach came to the house and he said, I want to talk to your son, Mark. He talked to my parents. He said, I want to talk to your son, Mark, and tell him, you know, wrestling might be a great alternative. So it will keep him out of trouble.
Right.
You know, so he asked my brother, hey, you want to wrestle? You're taking your aggressions out on the streets. Well, do it on the wrestling mat. My brother said, I'll try it. So he did. And he became really good at it. His first year, he qualified for states. His second year, he was 5th in the nation. He caught on very quickly. He got a scholarship. Yeah, he got a scholarship to college. Unfortunately, he was already married, had a kid, and his wife got pregnant again. So he had to drop out of school and get a real job. But when he dropped out, he moved back home, which means Kurt Angle is going to be in trouble because this guy's going to live his dreams through me. You know? So I kind of picked up picked up after where he left off, and that's how I became who I was. Because my brother Mark and my other brothers, Eric and Johnny and David, we all were wrestlers, and we all took pride in that, and I just followed suit. And, you know, I think the real reason why I became the most successful in my family is because I was the youngest. I believe if it was switched around, I was the oldest, my oldest was the youngest, I think he'd be in my shoes right here today.
How much older was your brother?
My oldest brother, 17 years older than me.
17,
Yeah.
okay.
My brother Mark was 14 years older.
All right, so you had a nice spread there.
Yeah.
Like they're almost like a father figure in a way too.
Oh, yeah,
for you.
definitely, yeah.
But your dad was in your life too for a while there as well.
Yeah. I lost him my freshman year in high school. That was a tough situation for me. Losing your dad at that age is really tough. But, you know, my dad was a huge fan of me and my brothers. He never missed any of our sporting events. Even if the event was earlier in the day and he had to leave work early, he showed up. I loved him for that. So, you know, my dad was such an important person in my life, and losing him was difficult. And I thought, who am I going to dedicate my athletic career to? And I said, you know what, I'm going to dedicate it to my father. I'm going to wrestle for my father. And the crazy thing is, when I started wrestling, I wasn't good. I was getting my ass handed to me, yeah. And my brothers were like, this kid's a pussy. He's never going to pan out. And, you know, it's crazy because right when my dad died, the switch went off my head. And I became more focused and more determined. And I started setting goals for myself. And by my senior year in high school, I won a state championship in wrestling, something none of my brothers ever did.
When did you start wrestling officially?
I started a little bit when I was 9 years old, but I would only do like a camp, a day camp for a week at my local high school. And then I would do 2 tournaments a year, and I get my ass handed to me. So it wasn't like full-time wrestling. It was just like, I was just getting a flavor of it, you know, because my brother was a wrestler. But I didn't start really wrestling until my 7th grade year, and I actually broke my arm that year, so I missed that year. So really, 8th grade is when I started. Yeah.
Wow. So that's
where I was fully prone, you know, going full blow.
That's crazy, because like a lot of great wrestlers I talk to who end up, you know, competing in college and stuff, these are guys who were on mats when they were like 5.
Yeah, you know what? And I get that. But, you know, what happens to those guys a lot of the time is by the time they're trying out for the Olympics, they hate the sport. Yeah. They hate it. And my brothers were smart. They didn't force me when I was 6, 7, 8 years old to wrestle in tournaments every weekend and, you know, get like 100 wins a year and, you know, be that wrestler that has been wrestling since he was 5 years old. They realized it was a very tough sport, and that I understood that me starting late was beneficial for me, because by the time I got really good, I was in college. And then after college, I had the Olympics, and I wasn't tired of the sport because I started in 8th grade. So I literally only had 9 years experience before I tried out for the Olympic team. Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of experience, but knowing that I didn't burn out from wrestling, like a lot of athletes do who start at 5, 6 years old, I started in 8th grade, and I was at my peak when I went to the Olympics. You know, my nephew, Marky, I'll give you an example. He was way better than me. He actually should have won an Olympic gold medal, but he burned out. He started when he was 5. He averaged 100 matches a year for 17 years. And by the time he was done, he despised the sport.
100 matches a year?
Yeah, and he was ranked #1 in the nation 3 years in a row in college. And he got hobbled with injuries, so he placed 3rd 3 years in a row. But he was expected to win all those years. And then the next year was the Olympic trials, and he was like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, Marky, you got to do it. He said, I hate wrestling. I don't want to do it anymore. I was like, wow. He's like, Uncle Kurt, I've been doing it since I was 5. I said, okay, that's understandable. Yeah. If you're tired of it, you don't like it anymore. But you're so gifted. You should be trying out for the Olympic team because you're that good. He actually beat the Olympic silver medalist 15-0 in a match. Yeah,
in college.
So, yes.
Wow.
So he was that good. Yes.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, part of it also is, you look at today's times with social media, one of the really sad things I see is like when parents are living vicariously through their kids, and you name the sport, it doesn't have to be wrestling, it can be any of these sports, you'll see them pushing their kids to like be in the NFL at age 5 or at the NBA at age 7. And I'm just looking at it like, you know, they're gonna, it's just natural that they're gonna develop a hatred for something that's supposed to be such a release. Well,
I'll be honest with you. My nephew's dad, my brother Mark, he was really tough on Marky, and that you know kind of plagued the relationship for a little while. You know, because he was really hard on him, and he really forced him to do a lot more than he wanted to. Yeah. And unfortunately, you know, it ruffled some feathers, and they didn't have that great of a relationship. But now, you know, after 15 years later, they're good with each other. But for a while there, you know, they were, you know, it was hard for them to talk.
That's a shame.
And it's because he was really rough on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens quite a bit, especially in wrestling. A lot of parents do that. And they want to live vicariously through their kids, and, you know, they're forcing them to do these, you know, tournaments, and they want them to win every single time. You know, it's just, you have to. Not you want to, you have to.
Yeah. I'm not a parent yet, but that's definitely not something I want to do. I will want my kids to do things because they want to do them. That doesn't mean, you know, you let them get off with low effort or things like that. Right. Like there's a line there, but like if they want to do something, put your heart and soul into it, but do it because you're about it, not because I'm about it and I love it, you know?
Well, my daughter, Nicoletta, she's 7 years old. She's wrestling.
She's wrestling?
Yes. But I don't coach her.
Really?
I sit in the corner and watch her being coached by other coaches.
You bite your fucking...
Yeah, I want to. I want to be in there, but I don't want that relationship with her where she's like, oh, my dad's all over me. I don't want that
Good
to
for
happen.
you.
I want to be there to console her. If she gets hurt, I want to be there to kiss her boo boo.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one that's like, you got to keep going. I don't want to do that to my kids. I don't want to have that type of relationship with them. So I let other coaches coach my kids.
Can you imagine like being a Pee Wee wrestling coach and you're like trying to coach a kid and you're like, oh, your dad's Kurt Angle standing over there. Like, I need you to get on. You know what? Just happened.
It's happened a couple of times. Yeah, same exact thing. Yes.
Did your dad coach you at all?
Yeah, he was a football player. He played football for the Army. He was in the Army.
Play football for the Army.
Yeah. I didn't even know they had a team. But not the college.
I know, but you said
the
for
Army,
the Army.
legitimately the Army. They had teams back then, and my dad was a fullback, so he loved football, and he was in the Army for 4 years, and then he was in the reserves for 33. But he really loved football, so that was my first love. Because of my dad, I loved football, and I was really good at it. And I had a really great high school career where I was all-state. I was Defensive Player of the Year for Pennsylvania. So I had a lot of accomplishments in football. But the problem was when it came time to go to college, no colleges wanted me.
Why not?
Probably because I ran a 4.8 and I was 5'11". I don't know.
You ran a 4.8 even though you run 6 miles in 35 minutes?
Yeah,
What's going on here?
I got the white man's disease, man. That's all I can say. So my father, he loved me watching me play football. But, not being able to go to having a college recruit me, I had scholarship offers. I'm not going to lie to you. I had scholarship offers to North Carolina State, North Carolina, Tulsa, but nothing close by. I always want to stay close to home. So I remember at one point in time, I was so arrogant. I was like, hey, coach. I was telling my high school coach, don't pull me out of class unless Penn State comes or Ohio State. And meanwhile, they never showed up.
And if it's not Joe Pot, don't bother.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned quickly that these big major colleges didn't want me. So I had this incredible senior year in wrestling. And that's when I decided, you know what, my route is wrestling. I'm going to go wrestling. And, I wanted to stay near home. I got recruited very, very heavily for wrestling. Even though I never won states before my senior year, I had colleges offer me full rides. Oklahoma State, the best college in the nation back then. Whoa. For wrestling. Arizona State, Iowa State. So all these schools are offering me scholarships, and I never won a state title. And usually, the 4-time state champions are the ones that go to those big colleges. But I wasn't even one-time state champion. But what they did is they watched tape of me. Yeah. And they saw that I was raw. I had raw talent, and that they knew that I was going to be something special. So I ended up going. I wanted to stay close to home, so I ended up going to a small college called Clarion University. And
where is that?
It's right outside of Pittsburgh, an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh. It's in Western Pennsylvania. Yes, okay. Yes. So I went there, and the reason why I went there is because the year before, they were undefeated. They're a small school, but they actually beat Penn State and Oklahoma State in a dual meet. And they had 8 guys that were expected to be All-Americans that year. And when they got to the Nationals, they were a dark horse to win the Nationals. This little tiny school, Clarion. And not one fucking wrestler placed. They all shit the bed that weekend. And my coach was so depressed. He didn't leave his room for 3 days. He sat there in the dark. So the next year was my year when I came in. And it was like a recuperating year, though, because all the seniors graduated. There was like 9 seniors on the team. So that we had to restart, the program. But so I was the top guy. I actually won Wrestler of the Year for my team my freshman year. I won the EWL title, the national qualifiers. I was expected to place as an All-American, and I ended up losing the first round of the Nationals. So my first year, I didn't fare very well. I didn't place at the Nationals. But my last 3 years, I won 2 national titles and was runner-up 1 year. So I had a really good college career. And Clarion, although it's a small school, is still a Division I school. They wrestled against Division I teams.
What was your coach's name again?
Coach Bob Bubb was my high school or my college coach.
He was an important guy in your life.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was a father figure. All my high school coach, my college coach, my Olympic coach is Dave Schultz. He was a father figure to me. Yeah. So Coach Bubb was really important. He was very crucial. He was a Christian man, very honest, very upfront, and he taught me a lot about a lot of life lessons. But most of all, he taught me how to be the best wrestler I could possibly be. He guaranteed me if I came to his college, he would take care of me, and he did.
When was the first time you remember the literal goal being in your head of, I want to be an Olympic gold medalist? Did that happen before college even?
Yeah.
It did.
When I was little, when I was 6, 7 years old, my brother Mark was wrestling, obviously. So wrestling was really hot in our family. And I used to pretend that I was training and the Russians were watching.
The Soviets.
Yeah, they were spying on me. I mean, I was out of my mind, but so I pretend I was training, and the Russians were, spying on me because I was the man that was going to win the Olympic gold medal, and they were trying to learn from me, and but it was always a dream of mine, and I didn't know it was going to be possible till I won my second national title in college, and that was my senior year at Clarion University. And I realized, I have the ability to go to the next level. And you know what? I did, and I didn't fare very well. I lost a lot. My 1993 and 94, my first 2 years trying out for the Olympics or the world team or the Olympic team, because Olympics is every 4 years.
Yes.
92 to 96 to 2000. And the world championships are in between. So 93, 94, 95 are the world championships. 96 is the Olympics. 97, 98, and 9 is the worlds. 2000 is the Olympics.
So you were a little too late to go for Barcelona in 92, right?
Right.
You were still in college?
Yes, okay. Yes. So I tried out, and I wasn't doing that well. 2 wrestlers were beating me consistently, and you might know them. One is Mark Kerr, who is coming out with a movie called Smashing Machine. I think the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is playing Mark in the movie.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, and then Mark Coleman, who was a UFC champion. He was from Ohio State. Those 2 guys were beating me consistently. And you know what? I decided to quit after the 1994 season. I figured I'm never going to beat these guys, so why even try?
You quit?
Yeah, I quit for about 5 months. But every day my conscience was getting to me, saying, what if you could have made the team? You're never going to know unless you see it through to the end. You're going to regret it if you don't try. So I came back, and I came back with a game plan. I did exhaust training. That's the training I did. That's when you train till you're exhausted, and that's when training actually begins. Yep. Yeah, it's almost a form of torture. And I learned this from a lot of successful wrestlers in college, like Dan Gable from Iowa, the coach for Iowa, the old coach. But I wasn't the biggest or the fastest or the strongest or the most technical or the best wrestler in my weight class. But what I knew I could be is the most well-conditioned. Yeah. I would wear my opponents down and score on them once I got tired. And it worked extremely well because in 95 and 96, I went undefeated, and I won the Worlds in 95 and the Olympics in 96.
It probably surprises people to hear that towards the beginning of your story here, you technically quit for several months. Yeah. When you look at the rest of your story all the way to today and all the trials and tribulations you've been through and the great successes and stuff, that was the thing about you. You never quit. You almost stupidly never quit sometimes at some point.
You're right.
We'll get there, but I mean that as a compliment. But was that when people talk about the origin story and the moment where, you fucking, like Kobe used to talk about the gladiator scenes where Maximus Decimus Meridius would just go down, touch the sand, and stand up and be like, all right, motherfuckers, it's on. Right. Is that where that happened in those 5 months where you just suddenly got to that point where you're like, I don't have my purpose, I really want to do this, and I'm selling myself short, I can go fucking do this. Let's roll.
Yes. I felt like something was missing. Every day I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't. I was in denial. I was afraid to see if I could succeed because I wasn't succeeding. So when you have that fear of knowing that you're not the best and you're probably going to get beat, it wears on you. And then after a while, it becomes you, and you become that person that is okay with second, third, fourth place. And I didn't want to be that person. So when I quit, you know, the feelings got to me. I started getting guilt feelings. And it was like, you know what? You haven't finished what you started. You have to finish. So it was my conscience saying, listen, wake up, get back there, get back to training and do what you do best. You know, go out there and perform as a wrestler and, you know, see it through to the end.
Yeah.
And I did that. And I was really happy I did because the result was an Olympic gold medal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you living during those 5 months? Were you back home?
Yeah, my mom. Yeah, I my mother was crucial for my training. She pretty much, you know, took care of me, you know, fed me. She washed my clothes. I was always coming into to her condo, grabbing something and leaving to go to my next session. So I'd pass by her and she'd give me a protein drink and and I'd give her the dirty laundry and I grabbed my other stuff that I needed for my next workout. So it was like a relationship that we were functioning at a high level. She was on board with me and we were like a team doing whatever we needed to do to get things done. And she was my biggest cheerleader. She's the one that really, really helped me out the most. And, you know, she even managed me. She raised money for me. She put on spaghetti dinner fundraisers. And, you know, she actually got me a local sponsor from Pittsburgh to help me out so I didn't have to work for a living, that I was able to train full time. So my mom was so important and so crucial in my career. And that's why after I won the gold medal, I put it right around her neck. Yeah. I gave it to her, said, cheers, Mom. That was awesome. Deserves it, yeah.
I would imagine, because your dad died pretty suddenly when you were a freshman, right?
He died in a construction accident. He fell 13 feet off of a crane, landed on his head, and he was such a tough son of a bitch. He got up, and his skull was cracked in 2 places, and he had 2 broken shoulders. And he got up, and he was disoriented, and the boss said, "Hey, you need to go to the hospital. Let me take you to the hospital." My dad said, "No, I'll walk." So my dad walks to the hospital. And when he gets there, we find out that he's in intensive care and his brain swelled up. Oh, man. And then he went into a coma. And once he went into coma, he ended up going brain dead. So we had him on life support, and my mom had to make the decision. Do we keep him on and take him off? Do we leave him on and make him look like a vegetable the rest of his life, or take him off life support? So it was really emotional time. My mother, you know, she was like, "Dave, please come back. Just please come back right now. I'm begging you." And she was crying. And it was like, man, this is brutal. But my dad passed away, and, you know, and it was a really difficult time for me. But like I said before, I dedicated my athletic career to my father.
Yeah, I would imagine. It seems like your parents also had a really good marriage. So that was
you know what? They did and they didn't. They got along, but they didn't sleep in the same room. I'm not sure what occurred, you know, because they had 6 kids, and you know, so obviously they were active to a certain point in time, but for some reason, you know, my dad, you know what, it might have been because our house was so damn small. My brother Eric and I had to sleep in my parents' bed too.
Oh, you did?
So, yeah. Wow. We didn't have any room. So I slept in my parents' bed till I was 12. Then when my brothers moved out, I got a room. So I think my dad was just like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to deal with my 2 kids sleeping with my wife." So he slept on the couch every night. Mm. And you know what? My dad, as good of a fan as he was to us, and as hard as he worked, he was a functional alcoholic. I didn't spend a lot of time with my father because when he was home, and he wasn't home very often, he was drinking. So, you know, he would wake up in the morning, drink 2 glasses of rum before he went to work. And then he'd go to work, and at lunch, he'd end up going to the club and drinking a few glasses of rum there. Then he'd go back to work, and then after work, he'd go back to the club, drink a few glasses of rum, go home, eat dinner, drink a couple glasses of rum, go to bed, sleep for 3 hours, wake up in the middle of the night, drink 2 glasses of rum, and then wake up in the morning and start it all over again. So he was very functional, but we didn't get a lot of time to talk because he worked the whole time, and then after dinner he passed out, and we didn't have any time at night to talk to him. Then he woke up in the morning, he was gone before we got up for school. So, you know, I didn't get a lot of time with my dad, but, you know, he was the breadwinner and he was taking care of us, and he never missed any of our sporting events.
Right.
So that's what mattered to me.
Right. So he made it out, like he made it to the things you cared about, but
Yes, he
like
did.
when you weren't on, so to speak, you didn't really have a chance to develop the relationship. With him.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I've ever heard one like that. That's interesting.
It was a little different.
Yeah, yeah, a little different. But he was obviously, like you said, an extremely important person in your life.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
And he'd be very proud of everything you've accomplished.
You know what?
I'm sure.
It's funny because my brother Mark isn't afraid of anybody. Okay, my brother Mark has fought probably 600 times in his life, always fighting. He never lost a fight.
A Pittsburgh guy fighting?
Yeah, exactly. But he was afraid of my dad. That's the only person he wouldn't mess with. And it's the only person he would back down to. And I don't know if he just, in his mind, it was like, this is my dad and I should respect him. Or if my dad was really that much of a badass. I don't know. But he was afraid of my dad, yeah.
Yeah, something in the gene pool got into you guys for sure. So
yeah, my dad definitely.
Maybe that came from him, but it also seems like your mom was a real tough lady too.
She was, and she was tough by trial and error. You know, she had 5 boys.
Oh, right.
So you know, she had to deal with that, and she had one girl, and you know, my sister Leanne, she got pregnant when she was 14 years old, and
14.
Yeah, she had a kid at 15, and so, you know, that was my mom's only girl, and, you know, she had to grow up pretty quickly. So all she had really were, because my sister Leanne then got married. You know, she actually got married to the person that impregnated her.
At 15?
And that lasted like 6 months. But my mom thought she was gone, so she had to deal with 5 boys, and
that's a lot.
4 of them that got in trouble all the time. So
one of them that
one of them that I didn't. And you know what? What's crazy is my dad always told my brothers, "Stop doing what you're doing. If you can't stop, don't let Kurt do it. He's the one that's going to carry the family legacy." That's what he told my brothers, and my brothers are the ones that told me that. And so they always protected me. They shielded me from anything they were doing, whether it was drugs or fighting or whatever it was. I mean, there was a point in time where my brothers did a shakedown. I was in the car and they went into a house with a gun. And I don't know if they grabbed money or drugs, but I was like, what the hell's going on here? You know, so there were a lot of crazy things that occurred. Oh gosh, I was about 8 or 9. Yeah. You know what? You know what? This is going to be in my movie. I don't know if I told you, but I have a movie coming out.
You got a movie coming?
Yeah, about my life story, about my Olympic career. And Ian and Esham Nelms are the directors. They're really talented. They did movies like Fat Man, starring Mel Gibson, and Red Right Hand, starring Orlando Bloom.
Yeah,
they're very talented. And they also wrestled in high school and college.
Oh, so
they understand my sport.
They get it.
And they wanted to do this movie about me, and they're almost done with the script. They're the writers and the directors, and it's a movie about me. A kid that was growing up in the streets of Pittsburgh, and that overcame all these obstacles and overcame all these obstacles, especially with a broken neck, winning a gold medal in the Olympics. And it's just, this movie's going to have a little bit of everything. Like, it's going to have that Rocky feel to it, maybe a little bit of the fighter, and mixed in with Iron Claw, but it's going to tell a good message. I'm really excited about this. I'm actually going to help the directors. I'll be behind the scenes for the first time.
That's cool.
So it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be on set every day, and I'm going to have a blast doing this.
I'm in for that.
I can't wait for the world to see it.
Yeah, you have, there's, people like, when people look up to like heroes, like larger than life people, which let's call it what it is, especially when you're great at a sport or something, like in culture, that's, that can be a responsibility, because you got kids who want to be you. And you certainly were and continue to be that for so many kids and people who are now even grown up who grew up idolizing you. Right. But like when you see this, people want people that they can relate to. Doesn't mean that like their life experiences are the exact same or something like that. Everyone's got their own things. But, we live in this world now where motherfuckers put up pictures on Instagram to make their life look so perfect or whatever, and they're basically out there screaming, "I'm not like you. I'm not like you. I'm different. I'm better."
I do it too.
Right? But here's the thing: like we may all show the highlights of what we have, but at the end of the day, you're a public guy. Your story's out there. People see what you've gone through, and we'll get to all of it today, and they see where you've been at the highest of the highest mountains and at the lowest of the lowest valleys, and have found a way to come back. So when it comes to like making, I mean, you already made a great documentary, but like making a movie, it's actually something that's true, unlike Rocky, which is a fictionalized story. I think people will really fuck with that, not just because like you're famous, but because there's something in there where there's lessons that they can take away and apply to their own life.
You're absolutely right. And I think we're going to be able to teach a lot of lessons in this film. I'm really excited about doing this. Like, I never dreamed in a million years that someone would be interested in doing a movie about my life story. You know, when you're growing up and you're living it, you don't think your life is special at all. You know, and then you find out, oh man, maybe it was kind of intriguing. You know, to have because they weren't the only directors that approached me after my documentary came out.
Oh, I bet a lot.
A lot of people came to me.
Yeah,
and I was drawn to Ian Esch on because they were former wrestlers.
Yes,
and they're upcoming, incredible upcoming directors. They've done a lot of great movies, and they continue to do incredible movies. And just to be a part of their team is just really cool.
Yeah.
How
are you doing in that chair, by the way?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. This is actually comfortable. Yeah.
All right, good. I just want to make sure. We're going to talk about all your neck injuries today, but I see you moving back and forth. But yeah, so when are they looking to like start making that, like film it?
Well, right now we're in the development stages. We almost got the script done. We will be getting investors, which shouldn't be a problem. Then we'll start picking the cast.
Great.
And so I'd imagine we'll probably start shooting in about a year. And I know they want the movie to be released before the 2028 Olympics.
Oh, great.
So
that would be awesome. Yeah. Like in the build up to that?
Yes.
That would be so cool. Are you, where are the 2028 Olympics?
They are in Los Angeles,
I was going to say, it's in the U.S., right?
Yeah, and our USA wrestling team, we might have our best Olympic team of all time.
Who's the notables?
Well, Jordan Burroughs is still in there. David Taylor's doing a really good job. James Green, some of the girls, Macy Kitty, Kylie Welker, Ariana Velasqueza. There are a lot of great wrestlers. The thing is, my '96 team was considered the greatest Olympic team of all time. But the wrestlers today, we had 10 weight classes back then. Now they only have 6. So it's almost cut in half, and that means you only have 6 spots to make the Olympic team. It's almost impossible these days. And these wrestlers that are making the teams are just unbelievable. So, I'll give you an example. The women's wrestling teams at the last Olympics, they won 4 medals. They crushed it. And the men's team won 3 medals. They did pretty well too. So, but this next Olympics is going to be incredible. But I just want to tell you that I'm actually an ambassador for USA Wrestling.
I was just going to ask. So are you involved officially then?
Yeah, I'm helping them raise money for their athletes. One thing I wanted to tell you guys is these athletes, they're not able to, their government doesn't pay them to wrestle and compete. Or train and compete. I'll give you an example. Countries like Russia, China, and many other countries, their governments pay their athletes, their Olympic athletes, to train and compete full time. Yeah, a little bit of that too. But they pay their athletes to train and compete full time, so they don't have to get jobs. In the United States, we don't have that luxury. Our athletes, for the most part, have to get jobs while they're training. So they have to train around their work schedule, which is ridiculous. So I'm here to raise money for USA Wrestling so that these athletes have the opportunity to train full-time and compete full-time, just like the other countries in the world. I think that's so important. And if I can mention,
please.
A link, go to kurtangle.net or kurtangle.org. That's kurtangle.org. You go there and you can donate to the USA Wrestling team. It'll be very much appreciated. The crazy thing is when I was training for the Olympics in 95 and 96, I was able to raise money. I raised money. I put on spaghetti fundraiser dinners, and I had sponsors that stepped up for me. I sold autographed T-shirts, autographed photos. and I was very blessed. I didn't have to work for a living. I was able to make ends meet, and the result is I won an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
So not having a job gave me that much of an advantage. And I don't want these athletes today to have to work for a living and train on the side.
You know what's crazy? I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So, these athletes deserve better. And,
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you. So we're going to have this link you see on the screen that you just mentioned.
Great.
We're going to have this in the description, but people can see it on our screen right now too.
Awesome.
So yeah, so you can just basically like a one-click donation right there if you want to support that.
Very cool. So anybody that wants to support the USA Wrestling team would be very much appreciated. These guys work their butts off, and we could have very well our best Olympic team of all time at the next Olympics. So I'm really excited about the future of USA Wrestling, especially me being part of it now.
Yeah. So as an ambassador, like, are you going to be involved in any coaching or anything too?
You know what? They want me to go to the World Championships and to the Olympics. Will I be able to teach technique? Maybe, maybe not. I have been on the wrestle mat in a few years, but I think the old man has a little bit left in his tank.
I think you got something. You still built like a shit house over there.
Well, you know what? The reason why I'm in decent shape right now is because I have my knees replaced.
You got your knees
replaced?
Like the full metal knee?
Yes. Yeah, my doctor told me that he said, listen, you are going to have these knees for 20 years, and then you're going to have to get new ones. He said, but if you abuse them, they'll only last 10 years. So if you're overweight, you're abusing your knees. Now, if you run on the streets like you're not supposed to, you're going to ruin your knees, and you're going to have to get knee replacements earlier. You don't want to do that. You want to wait 20 years. So I decided that I was going to diet really well and do as much training as I could. I don't do a lot of weight training because I have to have 2 shoulder replacements. My body's so banged up. I had back surgery, 4 neck surgeries, my knee surgeries. Now I have shoulder replacements. So I'm going to get that done eventually.
Did you dislocate both of them at some point?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I'm a 3 times.
Oh, gosh, man. That's a scar, man.
Yeah. I need another one right there, but not a replacement. That's you know what though? I have heard that people who get that done, the rehab's brutal, but life changer.
Yeah.
Life changer.
That's what I was told too. They said the rehab is really difficult, but it's going to make a huge difference. And they also said you're not going to have full mobility of your shoulder.
No, you don't get that.
Yeah, but you're going to be able to function with it.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for me as long as the pain goes away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Once you dislocate your shoulder once, like you're never doing like hanging pull-ups and shit like that again. It's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
I think I took this one out like 16 times, so
wow. It's
been a whole journey right there, but we're doing okay. So anyway, we were talking about back in like 94 when you stepped aside for like 5 months and your mom was, obviously you were around her and she was pushing you to get back in. I would imagine your brothers were kind of pushing you too?
Yeah. They were pushing. They kept saying, when are you going to start back? You know, and it got to me because, they were reminding me, making me feel guilty.
Right.
And it worked. I'm not going to lie to you, especially my brother Eric. He's the one that's only a year older than me. He's the one that beat my ass my whole entire life. He's the one that I always compared myself to. And because of him, I became that much better. Because he was always just a little bit better than me. And I was always chasing him. And so eventually I got better than him. And then I started beating him. And he got kind of pissed off, because he enjoyed beating my ass. So, but having a brother like that, it really makes you realize how blessed you are to be able to come from a family that was so driven by sports and something that, that they loved as a family and what they love to do as a family. And that was going to sporting events and, watch your kids compete. And that's what I do now. I have daughters that do gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, and that's all we do is we go to their sporting events. And but you know what? I don't coach,
and that's great.
I stay back. Yeah, I stay far away, and all I have to do is kiss their boo boos and tell them I love them and they did a really good job, and That's about it.
But that's cool because you're doing what you loved your dad doing for you and continuing that.
Yes,
so they
definitely.
know you're present. That's really awesome. But when you were in those 5 months, did you like totally shut down training completely? Like you didn't even go to the gym or anything?
I felt sorry for myself. I was like gloomy. I was like, man, why can't I beat these guys? You know, and the thing was, I knew why I couldn't beat them. They were having me stand toe to toe with them. So I got this bad habit of like wanting to react to whatever they did. So when I would tie up with them, I would just sit there and push and pull and instead of moving around, faking and bobbing and trying to get them, off balance. And with that, comes conditioning because when you're moving a lot, you get tired quicker. So when I got these guys moving and they weren't moving where they wanted to, and it was uncomfortable for them, they were starting getting more tired, and more tired. And eventually I'd wear them down. And then that's when I'd be able to score on them. And so when I was first competing against them, I was just standing toe to toe. I was doing what they wanted me to do. But after a while, I realized, you know what, I got to pick the pace up. Yeah. And if I do that, I think I could break these guys. And I did. I remember Mark Kerr, and he's one of the baddest dudes on the planet, okay? I remember at one point in time, I headbutted him by accident during the trials. And his tooth popped out, went on the floor. And he picks up the tooth and he goes, "Ref, how much more of this am I going to have to take?" And I was like, oh, man, this kid cracked. I got him. I know I have him now. He's actually complaining about his tooth. Yeah, I knew. God. I said, I cracked this guy, yeah.
So you lost your purpose, and now you get back in and you're like, I got it back. This is what I'm meant to do. It's almost like, you can look at that glass half full instead of half empty. It's like, you feel like maybe you quit on yourself for a minute, but in a way you needed that to like mentally clear your head and make the plan.
You know what? I never took a break from wrestling ever since high school. So every year, and like you said, I did try out for the 92 Olympics. I did. Okay, you said before, yeah, but I knew I wasn't going to make it.
You're still in college though, right?
Yeah. I actually took third. I was a second alternate. But even in '88, when I was a freshman in college, I tried out. I placed seventh. Wow. I did pretty well. But, I never took a break. That's the problem. Ever since high school, I wrestled year round. And I did freestyle in the summer and folk style in the fall, spring, winter, and spring. So I never took any time off. Right. And that 5 months was my first time that I took any kind of time off. Yeah. And it felt kind of good. I mean, I also felt guilty. I was like, I should be back there training. There's no reason for me not to train. But so I think deep down, I knew that I was going to go back. I just needed like a reason to. That's when I found out about exhaust training.
Did you have a relationship with Dave Schultz yet at this time?
Yeah, let me see. Yes, I did in college. Yes, I did. Dave was wrestling for Foxcatcher. And when I was junior in college, John DuPont recruited me and brought me on the farm. And I had a meeting with John to be on the team. And Dave Schultz was present as well. He was the coach. So, John brought me into his award room and, he was showing me all his awards from he was an equestrian, I guess. Yeah. And so he was showing me the awards and, he pointed at a wrestler up on the wall and he said, "That's Mark Schultz. That's Dave's brother. And that's going to be you one day." And I thought, you know what, he probably tells everybody, all the wrestlers that come in that, they're going to join the club. He probably says that to all of them. But meeting Dave was interesting. Wow, this guy was so intelligent. He knew 7 different languages because he wanted to learn technique from other countries. The guy was a ball of information. I mean, his technique was by far the best in the world. He knew techniques from everywhere, and he taught a lot of it. And I learned a lot from Dave. And he was the reason why I made the Olympic team. And what sucked is the last 6 months of my career I didn't have Dave because he was dead. He got killed 6 months before the Olympics, so I didn't have an Olympic coach. And Dave was my coach. But Dave taught me enough to know what I had to do from here on in. So I was good. I knew at that point in time I could take care of myself.
Yeah. Now, for people out there who, and we got Lauren in the studio finally. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for making this happen.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. So we're like 50 minutes in right now, but we'll just keep rolling.
Yes.
Probably take a break in a few just to go to the bathroom. But anyway, so the movie Foxcatcher in 2014, I believe it was Steve Carell, Mark Ruffalo, Channing Tatum was in that, I think too. But that's based on this whole thing. It's an amazing movie. It's also obviously very chilling because, as you alluded to, it has a dark end. But essentially, people can read the Wikipedia on it. But John DuPont murdered Dave Schultz in broad daylight in front of his wife. And John DuPont is obviously an heir to the DuPont family, which has a fuck ton of money. So he kind of inherited it.
He was a billionaire, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has this estate in Newtown Square, just outside Philadelphia, called Foxcatcher. And he, as you explained, like he had his own team of wrestlers. He was obsessed with wrestling. So he would have guys like Dave Schultz, who might be the greatest wrestler to ever live. They're coaching and training, and then he'd want to bring on young guys like you as well to get in there and work. But, I think people are maybe almost eerily fascinated by those years, like when guys like you were coming up and training there because they know what the ending was.
Right,
but when you first, it sounds like you kind of went there very shortly after this 5-month period that you took off.
No. This was I went there. I went there 2 years before the 5-month period.
Oh, you were there.
I was a Foxcatcher for 2 years.
Whoa, I didn't know
I
that.
wasn't making the team.
Okay.
And the thing is that my opponents that I was talking about, Mark Kerr and Mark Coleman, they were also on Team Foxcatcher. So all three of us were part of that team. So you could have more than one guy in each weight class, a part of the club. So he just picked the best of the best.
Were you living on the estate at that time?
6 months a year, yes.
What about the other 6 months?
I'd be living at home. Okay. What I would do is I would go there 6 months, train at at Foxcatcher. I would stay at a house next to Dave Schultz's house. And then the other 6 months, I'd be at home, and I would train at Edinburgh with Bruce Baumgartner, who was a 4-time Olympic medalist. Guys like that. So I had a lot of other wrestlers in the Pittsburgh area that I was able to train with. So I was traveling back and forth, Foxcatcher home, Foxcatcher home. I would stay at Foxcatcher for a month, then come home for a month, and then go back to Foxcatcher for a month. So I would rotate months.
And that's like right after college, basically, right?
Yes, and sometimes in college, my coach would say, "Go down to Foxcatcher and train," because he knew I'd get better training partners down there.
How many wrestlers would they have there at a time training?
Oh gosh, well, I'd imagine they probably had about 40 members, so probably 25. Okay. Yeah, that were full time.
And the best of the best, effectively.
Yeah, the best of the best. They always were. Yeah, you know what? They won the national title every year that Foxcatcher was valid,
Wow.
Foxcatcher always won the nationals.
And Dave, while you were there, Dave was always there too, right?
Yes, Mark was there at first, and Mark left because
he
got freaked out about John DuPont. And Dave came on board right after Mark was there. And so what's crazy is Mark told Dave, "Don't go there," and Dave was like, it's the best for my family. And definitely, I mean, Dave was getting paid a ton of money to coach everybody, and his family got a beautiful house on the farm, and it was just a great situation for him. And unfortunately, it backfired on him.
Right. Yeah. Now, did you develop a really close relationship with him right away working there?
Yes. I remember my first day there, I was really nervous. And Dave was like, "Hey, Kurt, come train with me." So I thought, oh, God, this guy's 160 pounds. I'm going to whip his ass because I weighed 210. I was 50 pounds heavier. And he beat the shit out of me. I mean, he was doing some crazy like 2-on-1 things where I'd be like trying to get away from him because he was tying me up. And I was like, this is crazy. He was using technique on me that I didn't know about. And it was really frustrating me. But he was really good at that. He frustrated a lot of athletes. That's how he won.
Yeah.
You know, so he was that good though. He wasn't just a great athlete. He was a tough SOB. Like you could tell that, you know, if he ever got in a fight, he was always going to win. You know, Dave was that tough.
What did he? What did you have a conversation with him when you stepped aside? When you decided to step aside for what ended up being 5 months?
Yes. And Dave was like a free spirit kind of guy. He was like, "Listen, you got to find yourself." You know, he wasn't like, "Get back here." It was like, you know, "Hey, Kurt, do your thing. You know, just think about it. You might want to reconsider and come back, and I'll be waiting for you."
Oh wow!
And so it was more of a fatherly figure,
supportive
type of advice. Yeah, supportive. Yeah.
Mm. So you had been there 2 years before you end the 5 months, and you go back there.
I go back and I start the exhaust training. See, the exhaust training didn't happen at Foxcatcher. That happened at my house. That's where I did all the training. Now at Foxcatcher, I would do it, but you know they weren't the ones that were telling me to do it. I was doing it on the side.
On the side.
Yeah. I was doing their training plus the exhaust training.
All right. Wait a minute. Yeah. So we talked. We're going to rehash this because we talked about the train at the beginning, but I want to see how it compares with Foxcatcher.
Okay.
Without getting into your exhaustive training, what was Foxcatcher's schedule every day?
Foxcatcher, go to the gym, lift weights in the morning for an hour. The afternoon, you would have technique for an hour, then live wrestling for an hour, and then the evening. Maybe you go on the Airdyne and rode the Airdyne, or ran on the treadmill, or ran across or along outside on the farm, all over the farm. But it was probably 4 or 5 hours of training. Hours. Yeah.
So you would add in your own 6 hours.
My own 5 hours. Yeah.
Did any other wrestlers do that?
No. I was the only one.
All right. Now back to this schedule because it's just fascinating to me.
Okay.
You said this right at the beginning. So in the morning, you're doing your 6-mile run in 36 minutes. You're carrying a poor soul up a hill who's got to be carried by you.
100-yard hill sprints, yeah.
How many?
20.
100-yard hill. What are we talking, like a 30-degree
really
hill?
Steep. Pittsburgh's really has steep hills. Yeah. It's like mountains. It's like climbing a mountain, yeah. There's one famous hill that's in Mount Washington above the city that's really steep. I used to hit that all the time.
And who would you usually be carrying?
My manager, his name was Jimmy Perry. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was my manager back then. And
how much older was he than you?
He was my age.
Oh, he was my age. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking you got like fucking Mick up there, like, come on, kid, go.
No, he was actually my manager, like business manager, but he had to train with me.
That sucks.
Yeah,
poor guy.
It did suck for him.
So every day he's just being carried up a hill by another man. It's not how I think of business management, but okay. So you would do those two things. What was the third thing you do in the morning for cardio?
I would do the Airdyne where I would sprint for a minute.
That's the
jog for a minute. Yeah. So I do that for an hour. So that was pretty much my morning workout. But afternoon, I would do 2 hours of live wrestling, an hour of technique. I do an hour of conditioning again. Then the evening, I would do my weight strength training and plyometrics, isometrics. What
kinds of things?
Core training, like having 60-pound dumbbells and jumping up on a bench and down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
Sounds great.
That's plyometrics. That's some hard stuff.
Yeah.
But I would do stuff like that. So I really pushed my body to the limit. You know, but my recuperation time, like I said, wasn't that long.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What was your diet like?
My diet, I had to consume 6,000 calories a day because
it seems low.
Well, for me, it was a pain in the ass. It seemed like a lot. I always ate pretty good, so 6,000 calories is really hard to get into your body. You know, when you're drinking a protein shake, that's 200, 300 calories. You know, so getting 6,000 in there, it's really difficult. But I was able to do it.
What would you eat? Like, what were your go-to?
Okay, I would make in the morning. I would make a tuna shake where I would put tuna in there, white tuna.
That sounds
into
horrible.
A blender. Yeah,
that sounds disgusting.
I put milk, and then I put protein powder, and then I put peanut butter. And then I mix it up. It'd be about 1,000 calories. And I would chug that thing, and it was disgusting. But I couldn't. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to get the calories. The problem was I weighed about 204 pounds, and I was wrestling at 220. So I was already underweight. So I had to keep my weight up. And since I was training so many hours a day, I had to up my calories to 6,000. And so that was a toll in itself. And I had to be careful because if I felt too full when I was training, I was probably going to throw up.
Yeah.
So it was a really difficult thing for me to do, is balance those two.
You couldn't like have the tuna separate.
No, I get it all done at once.
Time consumption.
Yeah, and then I'd have a Met-Rx shake after that. Then I would eat a baked potato with 2 chicken breasts, and then
is that lunch?
Yep. And then I would have dinner. I would have a steak with steamed vegetables. It was really hard for me to get all those calories in, but I did it. I did it somehow. And the crazy thing is, I wasn't gaining any weight, and I wasn't losing any weight. I was staying at 204.
10 hours a day. Of
I
course
know.
you're not gaining weight.
I know.
This is called science.
I know. I just wish I could have weighed 220. Thing is, I could have went down to 198.
Yeah, probably.
But why? Why? I didn't have to. I was still winning at 220. So
is that heavyweight at 220?
220 is heavyweight. 286 is super heavyweight.
Yeah.
So there was one weight class above me. Yeah.
All right, and I would imagine there's kind of people love a heavyweight. Like there's a little bit of a draw to that. It sounds better.
It sounds better,
right?
But it doesn't always mean they're better.
No,
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just the marketing.
Right.
You got to worry about that. But so you're doing that, as you said, like 28 and a half days a month or something like that. 10 hours a day. You get your body to recovery. Obviously there's some genetics there. I think a lot of it is also trained. Like you build those calluses on yourself. Like it's very clear you did that. But I gotta think you probably were more sore and more bent out than you give yourself credit for. I might be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like maybe it's also you just have such a dog mentality of like, I must, I can, and I will. Do you think that the mental part, like almost that David Goggins type thing, is playing a role in you feeling like you're not sore?
I think you have to have that mentality. If you don't have that mentality, I don't think you're going to be able to do what I did. So I agree with you. I think that there's no way you would be able to do what I did. So I think you have to have that, no barge hold mentality. Yes.
Right. Did you have a moment after you came back or a day maybe, where you realized, oh shit, I'm crossing the Rubicon. Like these dudes can't keep up?
What do you mean, that I'm getting too good, or?
No, that like, because when you quit, it was because you couldn't beat guys.
Right.
Right. And then you make this decision, I'm going to do exhaust training and I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously that doesn't happen overnight. Like you got to build it up and everything. Did you have a day where you're like, oh, I'm there? Like, I can do this.
Yeah. I'd say about 3 months. Like it happened very quickly because I was able to get myself in spectacular shape. I was already in pretty good shape, but getting myself to where I needed to be so that I could wear my opponents down, it only took about 3 months.
That's crazy.
And that's because I was training consistently every single day. And eventually, after, 60, 90 days, your body, adjusts and it realizes it becomes like a machine, an unstoppable machine. And that's how I felt.
Can we actually pull up a picture from like 94, 95 of Kurt, if we can Google that? Because I want to juxtapose this real quickly.
Okay.
Because like obviously you were built like a boulder, right? Like you were built in a way like a fullback. Yeah. The third one right there.
This one?
Yeah. Let's do that. Right. But the thing that's so interesting about sports like wrestling or boxing or even today, like with the UFC and everything, is that, it's not obviously brute strength and skill. It's also like you gotta, it might be a brutal sport, but you gotta have incredible grace, right? You have to have like almost a melodic sense to your movements. So you have to be light on your feet and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you think, obviously, like you're training that with your stamina and everything with exhaust training, but also like that footwork and that athleticism and that ability to be calm in there. Is that something that just came naturally to you? Or did you train
it did.
That too?
I always was an amazing athlete. I always excelled. Once I got past the the pussy stage where my brothers used to pick on me. Once I got past that, I realized how good of an athlete I was. People always talk about, I could have possibly been the greatest athlete in WWE history. And so I am that athletic. I really am. I mean, I literally can, I could do a backflip standing and, land on my feet without having to run or do anything, So,
at your size.
Yeah. So I actually did it at the World Championships against Arbat Saviv. At the end, I did a backflip when I won the World Championships. But I mean, as far as being an athlete, yeah, I've always been a really good athlete. The problem was up here.
The problem?
The problem, when I was not winning and losing, I was always afraid. I was always afraid to compete, afraid to succeed. And, my brothers instilled in me, hey, just screw it. Just
you got rid of that.
Work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just took me a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's the callousing the mind right there. Because obviously you didn't, when you got to the mid-90s, you don't seem to have had that.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I was a machine on a mission. Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, I got to take a bathroom break. I want to say hello to Lauren as well. All right. So we'll come back. I want to talk about Foxcatcher and obviously what happened there as well. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right. We're back. So you had mentioned maybe 15, 20 minutes ago about a little bit of the background with Dave and his brother Mark vis-a-vis John DuPont at Foxcatcher, and Mark obviously had some doubts about John as a person.
Yeah, John was acting a little weird, as he always did. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in instances where I'd be in his house, his mansion, and I'd be in his awards room, and he'd say, "Hey, come over for pizza." So I come over to have dinner with him. He was going to order pizza, and he'd walk through the awards room, and he had like white powder on his nose, and he was sniffing his nose and doing this and trying to, get rid of the cocaine. And then he would leave the room, and then he'd come back. He had a gun.
He'd just have a gun.
Yeah, and he's like, "Kurt, you need to leave." I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" He said, "You just need to leave." And he took the other guy that was there. His name was Rob Calabrese, and he said, "We need to go downstairs." He always thought somebody was after him. So he thought people were spying on him all the time.
Intense paranoia.
Yes. So he goes down to the basement, and they find a tunnel from the Civil War that where they were able to, I don't know if it was getting the slaves through or the soldiers, but it went from the mansion to another home, about 500 yards. And they went down there, and John DuPont had the gun loaded. And he told Rob, the person he was with, get in the tunnel. And the tunnel was only 4 feet high. So you had to bend over to get in it. You had to bend over to get in the tunnel. And John was behind Rob, and he points a gun at Rob's ass. And they're walking through the tunnel 500 feet, and Rob's praying to God that the gun doesn't go off. So it was just crazy hearing stories like this that John would do. And we were all a little bit guilty of knowing that John was kind of losing it. The problem was we didn't want the money train to end. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There were instances where we were like, okay, there's something going on here. This guy needs some kind of help. And everybody was just like, let's hold off till the Olympics. Let's just get to the Olympics. And we were almost there, so everybody was going to kind of go their own separate ways after the 96 Olympics.
What about Dave?
Dave was
he a
too.
part of those
Dave wanted to stay. The only person that John would listen to was Dave. So Dave was the one that really brought John down to reality and would keep him in check. And so that's probably why John killed Dave, is because Dave was the one that he respected the most. And I think that there was something there between those two that, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, John just one day decided to go out and shoot Dave.
When you first met John, I think you were talking about like when he pointed at the trophy case or whatever, like that day. Did you sense it right away? Like this guy's off?
You could tell he was off, yeah. But he was very eccentric, and he was also pretty smart. So you didn't know if he was crazy or just putting on a show. I mean, put it this way. I remember one time he had the world governing body, the guy that was the head of FILA for the world governing body of wrestling. He was the president of the whole world of wrestling. And he had him as a guest at his farm. And he was in the training facilities. And John comes in and tells him, hey, come with me. And they leave and they go outside and they get into John's car. And when the guy got into John's car, John opened the back door and said, get in, welcome to Balkan Airlines. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? He's like, get on the plane, is what he said. And the guy gets in, he closed the door, he puts a chauffeur hat on, and he drives his car down this hill on his farm. And you have to got to do like a hard left to stay on the road.
Yeah.
Because there's a lake right in front of where if you go straight, you're going to go right in the lake.
Right.
He went down, floored the car, and went right in the lake. He thought he was taking off on an airplane. And so this guy comes back to the facility. He's soaking wet because John had to save him. John had to get him out of the car. So he comes back soaking wet. The guy's motherfucking everybody. He's really pissed off. And it was like, holy shit, John, why'd you do that? I don't know. So was he doing crazy stuff? Yeah, he was. And unfortunately, we probably stayed around a little bit too long. And it sucks because, you know, it cost Dave his life.
Yeah. So you said it was like 6 months before the Olympics?
Yes.
So this is the beginning of 96?
This was January of 96.
So essentially one day, and if people haven't seen
Foxcatcher,
the movie
Foxcatcher,
yeah. Would you say Steve Carell did a pretty...
He nailed it. So did Mark Ruffalo? Even Ruffalo? Channing... Ruffalo, I'm sorry. Yeah. Mark Ruffalo, he did an incredible job. He reminded me of Dave so much, his mannerisms. But they nailed that movie.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't happen was they kind of made it look like Mark Schultz and John DuPont were kind of like, you know, close, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, you know, like John dyed his hair blonde. Mark, he never did that. That was all, I think it was just a Hollywooded up.
Well, they got to do something.
Yeah, they probably wanted to add another storyline to it, but that wasn't the case. That was just stupid.
My understanding is that the way that they showed the ultimate scene was pretty spot on. What he did.
From what I heard, yes.
It's probably that scene with Steve Carell in Foxcatcher is probably one of the more chilling scenes I've ever watched because it almost the way who directed that movie? Do we remember that?
Oh gosh,
can we look that up, Alessi? Foxcatcher movie director. I want to give a shout out here because like it was so well done. But okay, Bennett. So the director was Bennett Miller. The way that he filmed that scene before Steve decides, or John in the movie decides to get in the car, it's almost like the Fredo Corleone thing,
right?
Where he's far shot, laying back, just dead, dead to the world in the chair like this. I was getting hard, John Cazale vibes, and then he gets in the car, drives across the estate to where Mark has a home.
Yep.
Mark, or not
Dave.
Mark, Dave, I'm sorry, where Dave has a home. Dave greets him in his driveway, and John just rolls down the window and shoots him in front of his family, and then shoots him in the back, and then drives off like nothing happened.
Yep, he shot him, and he got outside the car. Nancy heard the gunshot, and she ran out.
Dave's wife.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to call the cops. And John looked at Dave and shot him in the back while he's laying on the ground. Then he got in his car and went back to his house. And I think John, in his own crazy mind, thought that he was safe in his house. He literally told the cops, can I just stay here for my sentence? I mean, you know, he was so out of it.
He's a sick guy.
Yeah, he really was. And you know what? He was probably that way before we even knew him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Might have been a little DuPont inbreeding going on there. You never know.
Well, that's the, you know, there are rumors going around that could have been possible.
Yeah. He was off for sure.
Yeah.
But do you remember where you were when that happened?
I was actually training at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. I called Dave that afternoon about the time he was getting killed. I called him to tell him I'm coming out tomorrow, so I'll be there. Be ready for me. And then I got done wrestling practice at Duquesne, and I was watching the news, and I looked on CNN, and it said Dave Schultz was just shot and killed by John DuPont. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is world news. Like, I just called Dave this afternoon, and here he's gone. So it was like, what happened, you know? And then I thought, I guess I do know what happened. John cracked. I mean, you know, it wasn't a surprise. You know, I just was hoping it wouldn't happen until we were gone.
It's crazy how like in the build up to something like that, it's as you described it, you guys, the attitude's almost like, all right, let's make
Wait
it to
it out.
96.
Yep, yep.
But like in the back of your mind, subconsciously, you know this guy
Could go at
could
any
do
time.
something, not necessarily to Dave, but to anybody.
Yeah.
And then he did.
Yes, he did. And we were wrong, you know. We should have left.
And you lose one of your best friends and like your mentor in this, and you're 6 months ahead of trying to live out your dream.
Yeah.
Where are you? What was the schedule at this point? Had you done the Olympic trials yet to make it?
No,
You hadn't.
That came 2 months later.
2 months later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was without Dave for the rest of my career, the next 6 months, but especially for those crucial 2 months, you know. Thing is, Foxcatcher was still paying the athletes, and what they did is their attorney wanted to make it look like the wrestlers were taking advantage of John, so they were trying to keep all the athletes on payroll, and we all got paid. So it wasn't a lot of money, but we all got paid. But I called Foxcatcher, and I told them I don't want the blood money. I quit. And they were like, "Are you sure? Because we'll pay you all the way up until the Olympics." And I said, "No, I don't want it."
Yeah.
And Nancy Schultz heard that I quit. And she called me and said, "Listen, I'm starting a Dave Schultz Wrestling Club. I want you to be our first member." And I started crying. I was like, wow, this is a huge honor.
How soon after his death is that?
A week and a half, 2 weeks, really quick.
Right away.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? She had sponsors stepping up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like they were like, let's do this.
Yeah, the guy was a hero.
Yeah, so they funded that wrestling club, Dave Schultz Wrestling Club, for years.
So that's essentially this is what similar to what you were talking about earlier is the ambassador to the wrestling team now in the U.S.
Right.
They're trying to accomplish the same thing where you can fund the wrestlers so
Yes,
guys
like
like you are
Foxcatcher
training.
did. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I only got $1,000 a month, but it was enough for me to make
Enough
ends
to live.
meet. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So, and that's what I'm trying to do for USA Wrestling today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the first wrestler that joined that, and I would imagine I don't know the story exactly, but a bunch of wrestlers joined her behind you.
Oh yeah, they followed suit. Yes.
That's
and then
great.
she was able to keep the club alive for about 10 years, but then she had to fold because there was no money left. She wasn't getting the sponsors anymore. They kind of, hiked. They took a hike and left, and said, "Okay, we're good."
That's kind of the sad thing, though.
Yeah, it is sad, but you know what? They're businesses, and I know they have to
I get
survive.
that.
And they did their. I guess they felt they did their duty by keeping it alive for 10 years, and they did. I mean, I give them credit for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You have someone who was arguably like the biggest legend in the history of the sport, though, and he dies tragically young. It's this international story.
Yeah.
And yet it just goes to show you, and I hear you, like obviously they helped out for like 10 years and stuff, but like,
Right.
You die at some point, doesn't matter what you did at some point, like even the gravity of your legacy, like the good things that are supposed to come with that, people forget, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But that's cool that Nancy did that. I mean, like right after her husband dies too. Like that's
She was such a rock. She was doing the media, and at the funeral she kept her composure. They were so in love. I mean, those two were the greatest couple I've ever known. They were both very, very identical. They were both beach bums from California, and they were like, "Dude, we're cool, dude." Just like
living in
free
Newtown
spirits.
Square.
Yeah, I know, really. And that's like the opposite. Yeah,
Yeah.
living in Newtown Square as compared to California. But Dave always wanted to go back to California, and I think he was waiting till that 1996 Olympics was over, and he was going to make his move. But it just, John DuPont killed him 6 months early.
Obviously, after this happened, you talked to Mark as well. And
Yeah, I still talk to him today.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, because he knew he was off and he left. I mean, that's
Yes,
gotta.
yes.
I can't as like the guy's brother. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Mark didn't say this, but he should have said, "I told you so, Dave." I mean, he couldn't because Dave was dead. But I mean, it's really, Mark warned Dave. So listen, the guy's not all there. And Dave thought, you know what? I met him. I think I could control him. And he was able to control John for a while. Dave was the only one that John would listen to. And I believe that's when John cracked, Dave was the first one that he wanted to kill because that was the guy he respected the most. And I think he was jealous of Dave's success and jealous that everybody loved Dave. And Dave was the guy that everybody was drawn to.
Yes.
And so was John. I think John wanted to take that away from Dave.
Yeah. It always comes back to the same things, pride, things like that,
Yeah.
even when people are deranged. But anyway, so you join the new Dave Schultz Wrestling Club.
Yes.
And you said 2 months later, you go into trials for the Olympics. So at the time, how did that work? How many rounds were you looking at? Like, how would you qualify to be the guy?
The first round is the U.S. Open. You have to place in the top 6 there to qualify for the second round.
Okay.
So I went to the U.S. Open that year, and I was having a great tournament. I wrestled. I went to the semifinals. I was winning in the semifinals, and I got thrown on my head, and I broke my neck. That's when I broke my neck, the first round of the Olympic trials. So my neck was in excruciating pain.
Did you know you broke it when you got flipped?
No, but I knew something was wrong because my neck was killing me. My arms were totally numb. Couldn't feel my arms.
How do you wrestle like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I blacked out, man.
Yeah. And I couldn't feel my arms, my hands, my arms, nothing. So I ended up going behind. The guy was ahead of me now, 3-2. And I had to come up with a couple points to win that match. And I did eventually. I won 4-3.
With a broken neck.
Yes, with my neck broken. And then the tough part was waiting 8 hours. And then I had to wrestle in the finals.
Now, did you get a diagnosis between them?
Okay, I went to see a chiropractor. He started cracking my neck and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Stop. I was like, stop, you're killing me. I was having sharp pains in my neck going down my spine. I was like, this isn't working. Don't do that anymore. So
did you go to a doctor? I went to a chiropractor. No story ever ended.
The worst mistake I could have made.
Never ended well like that.
So I was like, okay, I'm okay. Don't do that anymore. So he's like, well, we need to ice it. So obviously, we iced it. But 8 hours later, I had to wrestle in the finals. And I was thinking, okay, the thing is, I want to explain something. When you win the Nationals, the U.S. Open, you automatically go to the finals of the trials.
Of the Olympic trials.
Yes. So if you take second in the Nationals down to 6th, you go into a mini tournament. And the winner of that mini tournament wrestles the U.S. champion to make the Olympic team.
How many rounds is the mini tournament?
There's a tournament the day before you wrestle the winner of the U.S. Open. So you have the U.S. Open. The top 6 go to the final trials.
Right.
Number 2 to 6 wrestle in a mini tournament to wrestle the top guy that won the U.S. Open.
Wow, so it's almost like you earn your right to a bye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I would have forfeited that match in the U.S. Open finals, I would have had to wrestle in the mini tournament, and I would have got my neck crushed. Yeah. Like I would have had to go through 3 guys just to wrestle to the guy in the finals. So I was thinking about forfeiting my match because my neck was killing me. So I was like, you know what? I'll take second. I'll wrestle in the mini tournament. If I win the mini tournament, I'll go on and wrestle the U.S. Open champion, and hopefully I'll win the Olympics. My brothers were like, what the fuck are you thinking? Your neck is fucked up right now, and you don't even know what's wrong with it. You better wrestle in this finals and try to win. So you have a bye to the finals of the final trials. Yeah. So if they weren't there, I would have forfeited. But my brothers, they were always there. They were always fucking crazy. Like they would come up to me and they could see I had doubt on my face. They could tell I was like nervous, like I wasn't thinking straight. I was like doubting myself. They started slapping me in the face. Come on, dude. Like wake the fuck up. It was like it was so intense. And I always knew when my brothers came around, they were gonna be like that.
Apparently.
So they fired me up and they got me ready to wrestle in that match. So I ended up winning the finals.
Who was it against?
Kerry McCoy, 2-time Olympian from Penn State, one of the greatest Olympic or U.S. wrestlers of all time. I couldn't do anything, so I basically was underhooking him and trying to keep him from scoring on me. And I was trying to push him around the mat to make me look like the aggressor because I couldn't take shots because my neck was killing me. My arms were numb. So the match was 0-0, 0-0 in overtime, referee's decision. I won the match by referee's decision. It was that close.
Like a Floyd Mayweather type.
Yes. Yeah. Thank God I ended up in the finals of the trials. So now I had to go home and let my neck rest and heal. I went home the next day and I went to the doctor and he said, listen, you have 4 broken vertebrae.
4.
Yeah. He said, you have 2 discs sticking directly in your spinal cord and your spinal cord is bruised badly. He said, that bruising will never go away. He said, you're fucked. You're done. You can't wrestle anymore. And I was devastated.
Oh, period.
Yes. So I was like, I'm going to get a second opinion. So I went to another doctor.
You went to a chiropractor?
Yeah, you know what? He would have passed me to wrestle, definitely. But no, I went to another doctor, and this doctor basically said the same thing, but he also said, when's the next round of Olympic trials? I said, 6 weeks. He said, you know what? I might be able to get you ready by then. I said, well, what's your, how are you going to get me ready? He said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick you with 12 different shots of Novocaine all throughout your neck, 5 minutes before each one of your matches. Therefore, you won't feel the pain. You'll forget your neck is broken and you'll wrestle more freely. But he said, I'm warning you, an hour after your matches are over, the Novocaine's going to wear off and you're going to be in excruciating pain from the abuse your neck takes during those matches. Still there. Yeah, so I was like, okay, let's do it. And it worked. It worked. And I ended up, and the crazy thing is, I went to the trials that way. My neck still wasn't healed entirely. My neck was still broken. And it was still broken when I wrestled in the Olympics because I was still, wrestling those matches where I wrestled best out of 3 for the finals of the trials. That guy knew my neck was broken. Yeah. So he was cranking on my neck, trying to injure my neck even further. And my neck took a toll by doing that. So I kind of re-broke my neck there. And so then I had to take like a whole month off where I couldn't train at all. And then I started training very slowly. Like I joined the Olympic team in Atlanta, around that area where we were training for the Olympics. And but I joined them late because I had to let my neck rest and heal for a while.
What month was the final trial again?
The final trials was in June. The Olympics was in July.
Okay, so you do the final trial, you basically take a month off, you join like literally right before the Olympics then?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you get, I'm sorry if I missed this in there, but after you do the trial in June and you somehow win with the Novocaine and everything, do you go to a doctor again and get the opinion?
Yeah, and what happened was my neck didn't get any better.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was basically rebroken. The breaks were still there. So he said, listen, we're going to have to rest. You're going to have to just, you can do a little bit of lightweight training for lifting, and you can do your conditioning, but you can't wrestle.
Okay. So
you have to take a break for a while.
Now I got the timeline down at least. I was just trying to get it right in my head. Yeah. So you're in the build up to what's going to be the biggest, tournament of your life. Yeah. You aren't really able to train.
No.
Are you just like sitting on the couch every day with icing? I can't picture you sitting still.
No, you know what? I was doing stim machine for my neck. I was doing neck stretches really nice and light and easy because I didn't want to do any detriment or any harm to my neck. So you know what? I was doing some conditioning where I was doing sprint work and long distance running.
You were doing
because it didn't affect my neck.
Oh yeah. Not at all.
But I was still able to do some training where I couldn't do bench press because I couldn't post my head against the mat. So I had to do like a machine press, where I was still lifting.
Take off. He's like, yeah, I took off for a month. He's fucking.
I had to do something. Yeah, I had to do something to keep my body in shape.
Yeah, something that all of us would think is like sociopath mode.
Hey, I didn't have a choice.
Clearly,
Yeah.
You told yourself that. But you can we pull up a picture of Kurt again back at the Olympics? Because also you were built like a.
I didn't have a neck. Yeah.
So where does the neck even begin for you?
Well, you know that my doctor said. That's what he said. He said, Kurt, your neck's not broken because you have to have a neck. That's what he said to me.
Look at this. Yeah, it's like your head blends right into your shoulders. So that, scientifically, I'm no physicist, but I feel like that's got to help.
Oh, definitely. That definitely helped me. Actually, I would probably be dead if I didn't have the neck I had because the way I landed on my head, that could have killed me. I did real long-term damage to this day to my spinal cord.
Yeah, they showed that. I remember in your documentary where the actual moment where you got flipped on there and landed on your head. I can't even watch it. I'm one of those guys, like when someone gets injured in the NFL, I turn my head. I'm like,
oh man, when I
can't
hit
do it.
and I came up, I was like, oh shit, something's going on.
Can't feel my arms.
Yeah.
Put me back in, ref. Let's go. You got to be built different to do that. So you arrive right before the Olympics start. And again, you really were training for a month, but just not Kurt Angle training.
Right. No wrestling.
Okay.
No wrestling.
No wrestling. So before you hopped on the mat for the first match, did you at least like get a day warm up in there where you did wrestle?
Yes. I still wrestled for about 2 weeks, very lightly. I did a lot more drilling than I did wrestling.
Lightly.
Drilling, where you don't wrestle live, you just practice moves.
Okay.
So I was shooting high crotches, single legs, double legs, taking a person down, doing gut wrenches to turn them, just going through the drills. And I did a little bit of live wrestling, but I didn't want to do too much because I knew that it would be detrimental to my neck.
Now, like you said, everyone who's going to be coming up against you knows your neck's fucked up.
Yes.
Did they know it was
unfortunately, broken? Yes. What happened was, I don't know why the coach did this, but I called the USA wrestling coach and I told him, I said, listen, I know that in the past you've postponed matches for the Olympic trials because of injury. I said, I have a broken neck. I can't wrestle at the next trials. Is there any way I can get a postponement? Because after I won the US Open, I was in the finals of the Olympic trials. So I was there already. So I called the USA wrestling coach and I said, can I extend that another month? You know, whoever wins the mini tournament, can we do it a month later? Because I'm going to have to, my neck, I'm going to have to let it heal. And he's like, no, you're going to have to wrestle with your neck broken. I was like, well, you did it in the past. You did it for a wrestler named Randy Lewis. And he ended up, so he was injured. They extended it a couple months. And they wouldn't do it for me. But that's how everybody found out about my broken neck. Because I told the USA wrestling coach. And he
so
probably told other coaches. Well, he told other coaches, and then other coaches told other coaches, and then wrestlers told wrestlers, and then the word got out that
we need some wrestling omerta, man. I don't like this. There's way too much information being shared here.
Yeah. So everybody knew. My opponents for the final trials, when I wrestled Dan Che, best out of 3, he tried to mess my neck up by cranking my neck and doing all that stuff.
That was the guy doing it.
Yes. So I went to the Olympics and I had a couple guys there try it too at the beginning.
That's kind of.
You know what? It worked to my advantage because they were so worried about my neck that they were reaching. I was attacking their legs. So it actually worked to my advantage. I mean, I don't know if I would have won, to be honest with you.
Without the broken neck.
Yeah, because without. No, I could have won healthy, but knowing my neck was broken, knowing those guys were so focused on my neck, it left them open. And it just made it easier for me to win.
Did you watch a lot of tape of them too ahead of time?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So you're studying what they do and
they're studying what I do.
And do you think, because obviously you've never wrestled them before with a broken neck at that point, right? Maybe you wrestled them before in other competitions without a broken neck, but could you, when you were watching the tape, could you kind of translate on what they would do under the assumption that they would be trying to fuck with your neck and therefore what you could do to counter that?
Yeah, and the problem is this guy that I was going to wrestle, he was probably the worst opponent for me to wrestle because he liked to do a lot of front headlocks. And that's when if your head was down, and I had your head locked this way, where your head's here and your body is here.
It's great for the neck.
Yeah, right. So he had a lot of technique there where he cranked the neck. And I knew that I couldn't get my neck down there and get it vulnerable. So I knew that my shots had to be specific when I take a shot because he would sprawl and put a front headlock on me. Then he would do moves where he would get my jaw and twist my head to the side and be able to expose my back to the mat. And that's points for him.
Yeah.
So I knew that he was really capable of doing that. So I didn't want to put myself in that position. So it was very difficult for me to want to attack him because I knew if I attacked, I was going to pay the price.
Yeah.
But he was worried about my neck. So he was reaching and I was he left himself open. I had to attack his legs. So
shimmy and shake.
It worked extremely well for me. And that's why I say with the broken neck, I don't know if I would have beaten him if he wasn't trying to hurt my neck.
Yeah, it could have been different. It's
Yeah,
so
a lot
strange
different.
how that works out.
It is.
And you don't have your coach, obviously, because
No,
Dave
gone.
was killed. Is there anyone like helping you out?
Oh
though?
yeah. We had other coaches. Greg Strobel was another coach. Bruce Burnett was the USA coach.
Okay.
Dave was just my personal coach.
Yeah. All right. So when you get the broken neck diagnosis, do you tell your mom and your brothers about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't find out till the day after the U.S. Open. I went home, and the doctor took an MRI of my neck, and that's when he told me, your neck's broken. And I had to go home and tell my family. And, what's crazy is my mom started crying. That gold medal meant just as much to her as it did to me. And she knew that if my dreams were crushed, then it would hurt me dramatically. So,
But did she want to? I mean, you have a broken neck. You
Yeah.
are her kid. Was she trying to say like, this ain't the time? Or
Well, what's crazy is my mom's the one that said, "Why don't you get a second opinion?" So my mom's the crazy one.
no son of mine's a pussy.
Why don't you get a second opinion? I'm like, that's a good idea, Mom. So I went to Dr. Maroon, who is one of the best surgeons of all in Pittsburgh in history. He works with the Steelers and Pitt University, and he's done a lot of. He's actually frontiered a new neck surgery that I think he does the disc replacement where you take out your old disc and put the new ones in, and so he was always ahead of his time, and. He's the one that came up with the old-fashioned, let's just shoot your neck up with Novocaine. And
He's
you know
come
what?
a
He
long
was
way
right.
since then.
Yeah, definitely. But I thought, man, that is a little savage, but it worked.
Yeah.
It actually worked. I mean, the thing is, you try that today, no doctor will clear you because they know they're going to get sued.
Yeah.
Back in 95, 96, there weren't
Ice
a lot
up,
of
son.
there weren't a lot of lawsuits. People weren't suing other people. So
Yeah.
he was like, you know what? I'll clear you. We'll stick you in the neck with Novocaine. We'll get you ready. So that was it. That was the plan.
And how many matches did you have to do start to finish in the Olympics?
5, and I had to do my 2 best out of 3 matches at the Olympic trials finals. So 7 total with my neck broken, where I
with the
had
neck,
shots of
yeah.
Novocaine.
Yeah. But on to the Olympics. So obviously you're going up against the best in the world here.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, had you wrestled a couple of them before in other events?
Yes, I wrestled the guy. I wrestled in the semifinals. I did wrestle him.
Is that the Russian?
Yeah, I wrestled 2 Russians, one in the 3rd round and the 4th round.
Okay.
But let me see. I wrestled a Mongolian, never wrestled him before. Wrestled a Cuban, never wrestled him. He was 7 foot tall. He was a son of a bitch.
7 foot tall.
7 foot tall, man. He had so much leverage.
That match, you didn't get that height.
That match was
Cuban.
2-0. It was really close. Overtime, double overtime it was a scary match, but that guy was one of the hardest people for me to wrestle.
And he was another one trying to break your neck?
Yes, he was. He was all over my head, all over my neck. And then I had a Russian the 3rd round, and then another Russian the 4th round, and then I had Abashadidi, who was from Iran, in the finals. So the only wrestler that I wrestled before the Olympics was the 4th guy I wrestled, the Russian. Yeah.
How did you feel? Like you're getting Novocained up before all these?
Well, you know what? I wanted to tell you something. This is actually pretty funny. But the Russian I wrestled, okay, he was a real stud. Okay, he beat my ass like 2 years prior. And I'll be honest with you, till 95, I was 0-11 against Russians. I couldn't beat a Russian. So my mentality.
Well, they're Russians now. They were Soviets.
Right. So my mentality was, I'll just take 2nd place. I'll just lose to the Russian. That was my mentality going into the Olympic Games. Or no, going into the World Championships in 95. I was like, you know what? If I wrestle a Russian, I'll lose to him, but at least I'll beat everybody else. That was my mentality.
We don't lose to Russians in America,
But
Kurt.
I beat the Russian in the 95 Worlds. And that gave me the confidence to go on to the next Olympics and not worry about not ever beating a Russian. I actually beat one. So it just took me a long time to do it. But I ended up wrestling this guy in the semifinals of the Olympics. He beat my ass 2 years prior, and he looked like Homer Simpson. Okay.
Oh, no. Can we
He
pull
was
this guy up?
5'8".
What was his
He
name?
was big stomach, just frumpy, Constantine, I think. Constantine.
All right. Constantine, wrestler, 96 Olympics, Russia. This isn't the one who defected to Germany, is it?
No, that's Aravat Sabiev.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's pull this guy up. Just see what he looked like. Homer Simpson.
Yes, he did.
I'm trying to picture this. In
My
my
brother
head.
gave him that nickname.
You got all those Pittsburgh guys up in the crowd. You look like fucking Homer.
And he was a bitch to beat too, man. I had a hard time with him.
All right. Any of these look familiar?
1990s.
Yeah, 1990s. The second one?
No, those are pro wrestlers.
Type in Russia. Type in Russia. Russian
Let me
Olympic
see.
wrestler. 96.
You know what? Put Kazakhstan.
This guy?
No, that's the Greco guy, the badass that dominated for 12 years. Karelin. That's
right.
Alexander Karelin.
Take out Russian and instead of 1990s to
Kazakhstan.
1996. What is that? Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan. Yeah.
I don't think we know how to spell that. All right. Let's see.
Maybe this guy?
No, that's an NJ. Damn it. I really want to see what this guy looks like.
Summer Olympics right there. Let me see.
The head right there. It just
Do 1996. Yeah. Wrestling at the 1996 Summer Olympics.
Mahmoud
Hit that article.
These are the names right here. In the
Oh, shit. Yeah. Constantine. Well, what was his last name?
This guy,
Do you remember?
Romanian freestyle?
No, he's not from Romania.
Go up to the article, Alessi. Go all the way up. Yeah, hit wrestling at the 1996 Summer Olympics.
This thing?
No. Right there. Yeah. Perfect. All right, so let's see. So go down. Let's see where we see Kurt. What would you be under, Kurt? Sorry, there's a lot going on
Let
here.
me see. Number one, 100 kilos. Why? Is that?
Go up. That's the Greco-Roman. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Angle, 100 kilos. So type in, go to details. Yeah. Hit that. All right, here we go. Now we got it. So we got Kurt versus
Konstantin Alexandrov. Yes.
All right, let's copy and paste that. Let's see what this guy look like. If he doesn't look like Homer, I'm going to be upset, Kurt. All right, hit images. Is there even a picture of him? That's crazy.
It's got to be this guy.
There he is.
All right, from the side, he kind of does. I see what you mean.
He was a bit frumpy. I wish there was a better picture than that. If you would have seen him, like he walked out and he didn't have that. He was just like, just frumpy, just arms hanging down, looks like a wimp.
Yeah.
But when he gets on the mat, he's an animal.
Strong like bull.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So he was another one trying to break your neck, unsuccessful.
Yes,
What do you? So you're doing the Novocaine. You said like an hour after these matches, though, you just be in searing pain.
Yeah. When the Novocaine wore off, man, it was game time. I was like, holy shit, this is so much pain. I would get like sharp pains going down my neck. I was doing damage to my neck when I was doing this. So my doctor was like, listen, hopefully you won't do too much damage because the result could be paralysis. You could definitely get paralyzed.
Of course.
If you got another blow on your head like you did, you'd definitely be paralyzed. So he was like, I know you have to be careful. I know it's very difficult to do that, but, try not to take too many chances.
Yeah. Now, it was 5 matches, though. How many days in between matches? Like 1?
2 days. Yeah, I wrestled 3 the first day and 2 the second.
Oh, it was 2 days total.
Yes, 2 days total.
Oh, so your recoveries when the Novocaine rolls off is like another 4 hours, and you got to get the hell back in there.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep, and then they'd stick me with a Novocaine again, and I'd go.
I gotta imagine it's just like crazy adrenaline running through your body because that's a sprint.
Yeah. You know what? After a while, I didn't even think about my neck. Only time I did is an hour after matches were over. I was like, oh fuck, my neck's killing me. But when I was out there, after I won the trials, I was like, I'm cool. I know I'm not going to feel it. So, when I go in there, in the Olympics, I'm gonna do the best I can, and I'm not going to worry about my neck because I knew that as long as I didn't feel the pain, I wouldn't be reminded that I had a broken neck, and the Novocaine did the job for me.
You're just able to that blows, and I'm sure it blows the mind of almost everyone listening. Like you're just able to mentally separate broken neck from goal.
I had to. I didn't have a choice.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So the final match is against that big Iranian motherfucker.
Yep, Abajadidi, and that match was an interesting match because it could have gone either way. And I think the reason why they picked me is because I had a takedown at the end where I ended up on top of him, and the referee was about to give me a point, and time ran out. Oh. And so I think that was the crucial move that took me to the, got me a gold medal. But he was not going down without fighting. Like he went over to the referees to see who they picked because they circled the winner.
Right, knock him out.
And he acted like he won. Yeah, he was like, yes, I won. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I lost. So I was thinking another 4 years because I wanted a gold medal. I didn't want a silver. And so I'm all depressed. My head's down. And the referee goes to grab our hands to raise one of the hands. And the Iranian's hand goes up in the air. I was like, shit, I did lose. And all of a sudden, the ref pushes it down. He raises my hand. And what happened was the Iranian raised his own hand. So he raised his own hand, looked like the ref raised it. The ref was like, no, you didn't fucking win. You did. So I was so excited, I hugged the ref. I was like, thank you.
What does that feel like, though? You're chasing something that, as you outlined earlier, you had dreamed of for years and years and years. You reach the absolute apex of the sport. There's nothing higher than winning the gold medal at the Olympics in wrestling. Like, in that moment, can you even appreciate it, or is it all just a blur?
It's all blur. It's all blur. I wish I could remember a lot of it, but I can't. I was so focused and I was so nervous. Yeah. It's like I don't want to remember some of that stuff because it got so stressful. And, I was in a bind all the time. I always had something wrong with me and, things weren't always going the right way. And, I had to always focus and make sure that I, didn't make any mistakes. And it wasn't a good experience for me. I wish I would have soaked it in. I did soak in open ceremonies. That was kind of cool. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. You're going to love this. I just walked into the arena, the stadium for the opening ceremonies. And as the USA team's walking in, okay, everybody else is already in there, the whole world, and we were the last because it's alphabetical order. United States of America, the U is at the end of the alphabet. So I start walking in, and the fans are going nuts. I'm like, I'm fucking important, man. It's all right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Because I just walked in, so that was the first person they saw. I was like, thank you. I look behind me, and the fucking Dream Team's behind me. I put my head down. I started walking. It was hilarious. My God. I was like, oh man, Michael Jordan's behind me.
You gotta soak it in and pretend that it was for you. You just gotta roll with it.
You know what? No, it bummed me out. They don't know me.
That's funny though, but I mean, you gotta think when you do it. Obviously, like you said, it is a blur, but I've seen the video of you like right after being interviewed, and you're like, first you were on your knees, then you get up and you're crying, and you gave the medal to your mom. Yeah. Like you said, that's got to be, in hindsight, even if some of it's like missed in there because there was a lot going on, it's got to be a really special, like maybe one of the most special memories outside of your wedding and your kid's birth.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it was besides me getting married and having my kids, it was the greatest moment in my life. It really was, because that's what my family strived for. We wanted to be, the best in whatever we did, and that's how I was raised. And for me to be able to go to the ultimate goal to attain and be able to get it, shows that. What my family did, it wasn't for nothing. Yeah. They all represented something to me, and they were always, brother or father figures for me, and they were always there for me. Whether they were kicking my ass or supporting me, they were always there for me, and we did it as a unit. Even though wrestling's an individual sport, I wouldn't have done it without my team.
Oh, sure.
And that's my family, and. they're the only ones I could trust. And they were always there for me. You know what's crazy? They never missed any of my sporting events. None of them. I raised money. I raised enough money to have my family travel with me overseas and
That's awesome.
to the Olympics and to the World Championships and to the U.S. Open and the Olympic trials. And they were always there. And
Probably
sometimes
intimidating all the people
sometimes I
around
didn't
them.
want them there because I didn't want them slapping the shit out of me before my match. But, you know, I loved having them there. And knowing they were there was my extra strength, you know.
Yeah, you ever seen Nikola Jokic's brothers, the great basketball player from Serbia?
No.
So he's a 7-footer. He's got these two Mongoloid brothers who are his older brothers who like taught him everything and whatever. And they go to like all his games and they'll like get in fights with the fans and shit. And this whole time you're talking about your brothers, I'm just picturing like the Pittsburgh Mafia rolling up and people are like, how are your way, sir?
That's what it was like. Yeah.
That's so cool. Though.
They were all my size. So like,
Yeah, I
you
can
know,
imagine.
my brothers were all pretty big dudes, you know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But so you get to experience all that with them. And, you know, going into this, was your thought always like one and done? I'll win a gold medal and I want to be done? Or did you have the thought of like, oh, I want to continue and maybe do the next Olympics?
I would have continued if I didn't have such a stressful 2 years. Weighing the worlds and then after that, going to the Olympics and then losing Dave and then breaking my neck and having to go through all that. I think I would have probably continued on. But I wanted to, I knew that I put myself through an unsurmountable amount of stress. And it was the toughest thing I ever did was to overcome my neck injury and win the Olympic gold medal. So I knew I was done. I knew that I didn't want to feel any kind of stress anymore. I didn't want to have to put myself in a situation like that again, even though I did in WWE. But I wanted to go on to something else. I knew it wasn't like I wanted to be known as the greatest Olympic wrestler of all time by winning 3 Olympic gold medals. One was good enough for me, and I was on to something else. And I think that's how I've been my whole life is once I get something accomplished, I want to move on to something else and accomplish something there.
What was the in between winning the Olympics in July '96 and joining? It was WWF at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much time was in between that?
2 years, and the WWE offered me a contract in '96.
And you turned them down.
Yes, it was a multi-million-dollar deal, and I don't know why I turned it down. My agent actually decided for me. He said, "You're not signing this contract. They're fake. You're real." I was like, okay. And he said, don't worry, I'll get you a job. He got me a job sportscasting, which I was fucking horrible.
I'm thinking you're going to say like insurance salesman or something. But yeah, so you have either way, you have 2 years there where now.
Got my neck healing.
Yeah, you got your neck healing. That's great. But you also, outside of those 5 months where you kind of like found yourself in 93, 94, like this is the first time in your adult and even like child life where you don't have anything to train for and you're not going back to it. And listen, you're in a sport where you're a beast. This, no disrespect, this ain't golf, right? Yeah. Like you're a monster every day, not just when you go in there and wrestle with people, but when you're training. It's a mentality. It becomes a part of you and your identity, as it very clearly did yours. How did you deal with that? Like, was that extremely difficult to be away from that lifestyle?
Yeah, I went into a big depression. I was doing sportscasting for about a year. I felt like I wasn't done being an athlete. I was thinking about going back to the Olympics, but then that thought kind of passed by. And I was like, well, WWE offered me a contract a couple years ago. I'll call them and see if it still stands. So I called the WWE and they said, no, the contract doesn't stand. But you could come up and try out just like everybody else. And I figured nothing in my life's ever come easily. This won't either. I'll go up and work for it. So I went up and tried out. But I picked up on everything so quickly, they offered me a contract after day one.
Wow.
And but the contract was horrible. It was $75,000 a year. And that's including me having to travel. They paid for my airfare, but I had to pay for rental car, hotel, food,
What is this
tolls.
bullshit?
Yep. So 75 grand didn't go very far
No.
when you're married and you're paying a mortgage and you're paying for your on-road expenses.
So you were already married to your wife at this time?
Yes.
Wait, how did you meet her?
This is my first wife. I met her doing like
Oh, okay.
yeah. That was a long time ago. My second wife I married in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Now I'm on track with that. I had thought you hadn't met her yet at that point in my head.
Well, I didn't meet my
Right.
wife now. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So the original contract they offer you is not on there. You got to take this way smaller one. You said you picked it up quickly though. Like I think the thing, like I was never a huge WWE guy or anything. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was watching all that.
Right.
But you obviously have guys in there who are like the pinnacle athletes. Many of them were like great wrestlers before,
Right.
you know, and I guess the ones who maybe weren't, like they were great at other sports and stuff
Yep.
like that. And at the end of the day, you guys, the whole point is like you're acting and you're faking some things, but in doing these insane acrobatic moves, it's also real because there's insane injuries that occur.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are jumping from fucking 20 feet in the
Doing
sky.
stunts. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you go in there, it's obviously way different than what you had done on a competing basis. But
Right.
day one, like, were you impressed with the physicality of what these guys
Yeah,
did?
because what you're doing there is self-mutilation.
Self-mutilation.
Yeah, when you bump, that means you're getting slammed. When someone slams you or clotheslines you and you bump on the ground, you're bumping on plywood. It's like this. So you're going from your feet to your back, quick and bumping, and your head even hits.
It's great for your neck.
Oh, it's horrible. Like I took my first bump and I said, "Fuck this, I quit." I told my manager, "I'm not doing it," and so I left. But he talked me into going back the next day and sticking with it. And so I got through the next day, and it was the hardest thing I ever did as bumping. Because when you start out wrestling, first thing you learn is how to bump properly for safety. So you're bumping 500 times every day. And that takes a toll on your body. I mean, you get the first day I was sore as hell. Like, you know, but what took the soreness away was bumping again because it warms your body up. But I learned very quickly that pro wrestling is basically self-mutilation.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really difficult. If you don't want to put any wear and tear on your body, you know, stay away from wrestling. You know, or pro wrestling. If you want to stay healthy and you don't want any long-term damage done to your body, stay away from pro wrestling because once you do it and you're stuck in it, and it's addictive. Once you get into it, you stay in it as long as you possibly can.
What's addictive about it?
The fans, you know, the money, just doing, you know, performing, you know, for them. It becomes very addictive, and but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it, and you know, it was tough. It was tough on my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where medically, when you first go to try out, where's your neck at this point? Is it still officially broken, or has
No,
that
it's healed. It's healed. You know, I only had my pinky finger never came back. This is numb. It's been numb since the '96 Olympics. I can't feel this. I could chop it off. I wouldn't know it. It's really it's that bad. It's always cold. No circulation. I lost all my muscle in my finger. Look, feel your hands. There's muscle there.
Yeah, I'm
There's
quadruple
nothing
jointed.
here.
Some
Nothing
weird
there.
shit.
Yeah, so I've atrophied. My arms have atrophied 3 inches each. You know, so my pec, I have a no muscle right here.
I could see that's like off kilter from this one.
Yeah. No. So I've
Were you good at the time though? Like when you were first trying out, that was still okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I've had a lot of atrophy.
Yeah.
So I'm paying the price for it, but I don't regret it. I had a great career, especially wrestling in WWE. I had a lot of funny moments with the fans, and I was really surprised of how entertaining I could be, knowing that coming from wrestling where you show no emotion.
Yeah.
You know, and I never thought I had a personality to begin with. So, you know, doing what I was able to do in WWE and making an ass out of myself, it was easy for me to do that stuff because I knew I was a badass.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of wrestlers were like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. I'm going to look like an idiot. Well, that's the point, you know. And they're usually the people that never been in a fight or never been in a real competition. So they always have this, idea that they're going to look weak. Yeah. For me, I didn't care. So I was the one that Vince could go to, Vince McMahon, and say, "Hey, have Kurt do this silly shit," And I was game for it.
But you're coming in at a time too, like Stone Cold Steve Austin's in there, yes. The Rock is in there.
I beat those two my first 2 world titles. I beat Rock for my first, and I beat Stone Cold for my second.
Now, how does that work too? Because again, like you guys are choreographing a lot of this, right? So it's like you get the result is determined by the company, right?
Right.
Okay, but at the end of the day, like you're putting on a show with insane acrobatics, and you guys train that together ahead of time.
Yeah, you just have to make it look like a fight,
right?
To a certain extent,
right?
Yeah.
But did you when you were coming in? Did some of those guys like help you out with the entertainer aspect?
Well, nobody helped me with the entertainment aspect. But when I started, they only had me train for 7 months. That's nothing. Like 7 months of training is absolutely nothing in pro wrestling. And Vince McMahon basically said, "Listen, we're going to start you on TV. You're either going to sink or swim." I mean, he gave me that choice, and so I didn't have a choice but to swim. And it's crazy because he's telling me, "Hey, you have a promo tonight, and this is what I want you to say." And he would say it, and he'd be talking for like 8 minutes, and I'd be like, "Holy fuck, how am I going to remember this?" Right?
He wouldn't give you a script?
No. The first night on air, he didn't give me a script. He tested me, and when he said everything, I went, "Vince, I'm sorry, but I didn't hear a word you said." He said, "I'm going to tell you one more time. You have to go out and do it." And I went out and did about 80% of it. And he was like, I have a good, this guy's going to be somebody.
Did you become the heel right away?
Yeah. Vince, he had this idea of me preaching the 3 I's: intensity, integrity, and intelligence, but not really being that person. Like I was cheating and, so the fans hated me at the beginning. And I told Vince, there's no way fans are going to hate me. I said, "I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I'm an American hero." He said, "Don't worry, we'll get him to hate you." And he was right. He was right. Yeah, preaching the 3 highs and doing the opposite definitely made me a heel.
That's like a strange thing, though, where you're successful by getting people to hate you. Yeah, you're like a great entertainer in that way.
Yep, I made a lot of money doing that.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
So obviously, like you said, you made it quickly. They bring you in. Like when did they say, like, "All right, we're gonna up that contract now"? Like how long did that take?
Well, I had to prove myself for a year on TV. And I was able to make over $1 million that year, even though my guarantee was $75,000. You can make more money in WWE by being in the main events or selling merchandise, that kind of stuff. But so I proved myself to Vince, and I said, "Listen, I want a better guarantee. My contract's up. I made $1 million this year. I'd like to be and the highest guarantee they had at the time was $1 million. Now, don't get me wrong, Stone Cold Steve Austin still made $14 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay, because of merchandise and main eventing every pay-per-view. So you get paid more than your guarantee for that. So I was able to make $1 million my first year. So I got a guaranteed $1 million for the next 5 years. And so I felt good about that. And I was able to make a substantially a much more than the $1 million guarantee, but I had a very successful career, and I was able to entertain fans that I didn't even realize I was going to be able to entertain them. I mean, I did some stuff with Stone Cold Steve Austin where I wear a little mini cowboy hat and made myself look like an idiot. And
it's entertaining.
The fans loved it. Yeah, they loved it. So
you said these guys didn't really help you with the entertainment aspect. That just came to you.
Yeah, you know what? They one thing they did is they showed me how to do an old fashioned promo where the guy would interview me, and you just stand there in front of the WWE symbol, and he talks back and forth, and that was it. And I was horrible at that. But when they started me on TV, I would do like a promo where I would walk down the ramp and talk to the fans, So, but I was able to memorize those promos. Crazy thing is, I didn't know how to ad-lib. That is something I had to learn down the road because I was so good at memorizing my lines that they had a joke in the back, like they'd be watching me and they'd be reading the script word for word. I'd be saying it word for word. They're like, this is unbelievable.
He'll read whatever's on the teleprompter.
Exactly, yeah. Just like Will Ferrell, yeah. So I didn't know how to improvise until I had to do those skits with Stone Cold and Vince McMahon where we were doing these funny pre-tapes. And Vince would be like, listen, I have this idea, and Stone Cold, I want you to start. Kurt, I want you to chime in. Then I'll chime in. Then we'll naturally just let it end. I was like, wait a minute, Vince, you don't have a script. I was like, holy shit, I don't know how to improvise. He's like, don't worry, you'll get used to it. And you know what? I did. Eventually, I was able to. But that was the toughest thing I ever had to do.
Yeah.
I would think that memorizing the lines would be tougher, but ad-libbing was really tough for me.
In front of fucking 40, 50,000 people, that's not easy.
Yeah,
like, did
I
you
know.
study any acting or anything like that?
No.
So you have some sort of natural gene in there.
Well, I'm not a good actor, to be honest with you, but
Well, you're hanging in there.
I was able to play my character pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. There's acting to that. You gotta give yourself some credit. But so the contract was like 98 when it started, 98, 99, something like that?
Yes, the middle of 98, yes.
All right.
I
So,
started in 99.
but we're gonna get to 03 to 06 where you really had some injury problems. But prior to 03, you're doing this whatever 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Did you sustain any serious non-neck injuries during that time?
I didn't have any problems with my neck.
But anything else?
No, I was healthy. I didn't have any serious problems. I had a couple hamstring pulls, but nothing real serious until I wrestled Brock Lesnar. And I was on his back. I had him in a chokehold, and I was on his back. And he was in one side of the ring, and he was going to run to the other corner and turn and back me into the turnbuckle. And when he was still running full speed, and he went to turn, and he didn't get turned around completely, that I hit the turnbuckle sideways and my head snapped really, really fast. And I heard a crack in my neck, and I was like, oh, shit. And my right arm went numb. I couldn't feel it. And I couldn't raise it either. Like, it didn't just go numb. I lost use of it. And I was like wrestling with one arm dangling. And so I knew that I'm going to have surgery. I knew right away. So we finished the match. And so listen to this. This is crazy. This is crazy. So we finished the match. I go to the doctor the next day, and he says, listen, you have to have surgery. You broke your neck again. And so I called Vince, and I said, listen, Vince, I know I'm main eventing at WrestleMania, but I'm not going to be able to. I know it's in 2 weeks, but I have to have surgery. What do you want me to do? Because I'm the world champion. How do I drop this title? He said, well, all right, this is what we're going to do. At the next Raw, at the next TV, we're going to have you drop the title to Brock. And I said, well, I can't wrestle. He said, well, I'm just going to have Brock hit his finish move on you. I was like, well, that's a pretty brutal finish move. He's going to pick me up over his head, spin me in the air, and have me bump on the hardwood, on the wood. And so I said, okay, well, let's do it. So we get to the day of the event, and before I went down there, it was in Pittsburgh, actually, ironically. So I was going to drop the title to Brock Lesnar in my hometown. But before I went down, I met my neighbor who has Down syndrome. His name's Johnny Soretti. And he was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? He said, well, I was hoping to see you at WrestleMania because you and Brock are on the cover of this magazine. And it was a cable magazine. And it showed that we were main eventing WrestleMania. And this poor kid was crying because he knew I couldn't wrestle. And I thought, you know what? I don't have to drop the title tonight. I'll just tell Vince I'll wrestle at WrestleMania.
Oh, my God.
So I told Vince, hey, why don't we do something tonight to where I beat Brock, like by cheating and winning. And what we did is we did this thing where I walked down to the ring and I got in the ring. And then I went in the corner and the lights went out. And my brother was underneath the ring. And I rolled out of the ring. He got in the ring. And then he got down in the same stance with his head down, facing the turnbuckle where I was. And Brock came out, and Brock attacked him, thinking it was me. And he hits me with a finish. He goes to cover me, and he looks, and he's like, that's not Kurt. And then I sneak in, I roll up and pin him. So I get a cheap win out of it, and we go on to WrestleMania. So that was my idea to Vince.
All because of your neighbor.
Yeah, and it got me more heat from the fans, which they hated me even more. And I was able to please my neighbor by being able to wrestle WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I didn't have function of my right arm at WrestleMania against
broken
Brock. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was the toughest match I've ever been through. And what's crazy is at the end of that match, Brock did a shooting star press where you jump forward and you flip backward.
Yeah.
He was supposed to land on me. He landed right on his head, the same exact way I broke my neck. And I thought he got knocked out. So now I'm covering him, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to win this match. I'm gonna have to wrestle another match to drop this title. And I said, Brock, kick out, please kick out. He kicks out. So the match is still alive. So I'm like, Brock, are you okay? And he's not saying anything. I'm like, Brock, are you okay? And he says, well, I think so. I said, okay, I'm gonna lift you up. You think you can F5 me? That's his finish move. I said, I don't know. That's what he said. I don't know. So I lifted him up. I said, Brock, kick me in the gut. He kicks me in the gut. He naturally gets me up, F5s me, covers me, and pins me. So now Brock has a concussion. Feeling? My neck's fine. Okay. I'm fine. Brock messed his neck up, but he tore a muscle. He didn't do any damage to his neck, his spinal cord, and he had a concussion. And he's flipping out backstage, going crazy, and they can't control him. So I calmed him down, and I got him to go to the hospital. And he had a concussion, but he had a torn muscle in his neck, and he was fine. So that match we could have ended up both in the hospital that night, you know. And I was just happy that Brock didn't break his neck too.
So the point, though, is that you're going to lose that, so now you can take some time off.
Yes, I was going to have the surgery and recuperate from it. And the problem was I had the surgery, and I thought I recuperated from it, but 4 weeks wasn't long enough.
What 4 weeks after next surgery? What did they do?
I rushed the doctor. I wanted to come back, and I made him clear me. So he clears me early. So I go on and I wrestle again. I break my neck again immediately. And then I did it a third time. So after the third time, they let me.
Fourth time overall, right?
Well, there's another time that I end up doing it. But actually, I broke my neck 5 times. But so the one I did the third time in WWE, I took 6 months off. I was still working. I was general manager. So I had a suit on. I was calling the matches, telling who's going to wrestle who. And that was the time when I was able to recuperate fully.
Did you do a surgery at the beginning of that too?
Yes, I did.
What did they do?
They just took out part of the disc that was blocking my nerves that were going down my arms. So you have nerves coming out of your neck. And you have discs in between each vertebrae. And when these discs get damaged, they slip. Yeah. They slide to the side. And the nerves get blocked. And that means you have no use of your arm.
Right.
So it's something really little, just a minor adjustment, a little slip will completely shut your arm down. I mean, it's that bad. So they had to cut the disc out that was blocking the nerve. And then I had to let the vertebrae heal because I broke vertebrae every time.
Yeah. Now that's 6 months.
6 months I took off, but I was still general managing. I was still on TV.
At the end of that 6 months, though, you get cleared to start training again, or?
Yes. Actually, I didn't do much training. I was just, after 6 months, I went right back into it.
How did your body feel physically?
Oh, like shit.
Yeah.
But I got used to it. After a while, when you're bumping for so long, you get used to it again, and then you're good. Then you're good to go. And it probably took me 2 months to get to my old self.
Because this is WWE, not Olympic wrestling.
Right. You can work around your injuries, and that's what I did.
Are you doing steroids and stuff like that?
At one point in time, yes. Yeah. Yes, I was. Yeah.
What kind?
I was doing DECA at one point in time for my joints and all that, but
did that help with recovery?
I didn't take it. No, it didn't really help me a lot. I didn't find anything beneficial except I was a little more lean. I had a little more muscle, a little lean, but it didn't do a lot for me. And, it's crazy. The only time I did it, I got tested. I got fined.
Oh, they did
and,
test.
They suspended me. Yeah. They started testing, I think 2004. Yeah.
Oh, so like when baseball started having all the problems, Vince is like, fuck.
Yeah, and you know what?
Everyone taking on the first of the month.
Yeah, Vince went through that steroid scandal back in the 90s, and
What was that? I don't know about that.
He all the wrestlers were taking steroids they were getting from a doctor that Vince hired.
Of course.
But he claims he didn't know that the doctor was selling the steroids.
Yeah.
This doctor was making buco money though. He ended up going to jail because of it.
Who do you remember the doctor's name?
I can't remember his name, but there's the documentary on Vince McMahon's out right now.
I gotta watch that.
It's wow. It's an eye opener. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, he's been doing this forever. The dude's a machine.
He lives and breathes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had a good relationship with him for the most part?
Yeah, I had a great relationship until the end of my first run. What happened, though, I understand. Thing is, I was being overworked, and I was injured quite a bit. I had a painkiller problem at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
And I was able to get through that, but he just I wanted to get out of the company because I felt like I was being worked too hard. And so I wanted to get out of the company. So I decided that I told Vince I want to get out. I said,
when?
It was in 2006. And my neck, I broke my neck again.
After the 6 months?
Yeah.
What happened?
I broke that at the beginning of 2006. I did an angle slam from the top rope on the back of my neck, and
That'll do it.
broke my neck again. So I wanted to get out. I just didn't want to do it anymore, and I figured the schedule was just too much for me. And I didn't blame Vince. I understood he wanted me to work full time, and I just couldn't do it. And because I was new to the business, if I didn't have 10 years experience, I couldn't go part time. Because a lot of his wrestlers that have more experience, Undertaker and, The Rock, they could go part time because they have more years of experience.
Right.
I didn't have that many years. So he couldn't make me part time. So I decided I wanted to quit. And so I did. And I ended up joining a smaller company called TNA Wrestling.
Okay.
And there, the reason why I went there is because they offered me a boatload of money and a reduced schedule where I had to work a lot less dates than I did in WWE.
But your body's also so banged up.
It's banged up, but they gave me as long as I wanted, and I took 3 months off. That's not a long time, but I took 3 months off. I came back, but I never told Vince. Vince thought I was going to come back to WWE. He said, I'll have a contract waiting for you in 6 months. Go take some time off. And I literally called TNA right when I left his office. I said, bring me down. This is how much I want. And so that ruffled some feathers with me with WWE, because when I came back in 2017, they didn't utilize me the way they probably should have. Right. And I understood. I mean, I understand the business. Yeah, it's business. So.
At what point, you had mentioned early on in this conversation your sister, who obviously had a rough teenage run there and that threw her life off a little bit, but she later became an addict. When did you learn about that?
Oh, I was in WWE, and she just went through her third failed marriage, and she was feeling less than nothing at the time. All three of her spouses cheated on her, and she felt like she was worthless, and she got attached to, I believe, heroin, and she started taking that, and she lost her job. So I started to pay for her living expenses, and I later found out that was going to heroin as well. So at one point in time, I decided to tell her, listen, you either go to rehab or I'm never talking to you. And she decided not to. So I never got a chance to say I love you to her, because she ended up killing herself. She overdosed. So, and this was when I told her I wasn't going to talk to her anymore. So it's a tough situation for me to talk about because of that specifically. But yeah, she was a great sister. She was just really caring. Like, I'll give you an example what kind of person she was. My first day of school, my family didn't have a lot of money, so my shoes, I had holes in them, and you could see them in the toe. Like, and my friends were teasing me, and I was 11 years old, and I went home crying. I said, my sister said, "What's wrong?" I said, "My friends are teasing me because I have shoes with holes in them. I don't have new shoes, and it's the first day of school." And she goes, she goes and grabs her new shoes. They were Nikes. They were women's shoes, but they were brand new. And she said, "Take mine." And, here she is. She's, she has a kid. She's pregnant, or she was pregnant. She had a kid. And she's giving me her brand new shoes. And she doesn't have any. She's giving them to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, this is the kind of person she was. And it just, that, she was always like that to me. And she always took care of me. And she was such a great sister. And to see her reduced to the level she was, and to know that I said I was never going to talk to her again, man, I do regret that, but there's nothing I can do about it,
It's like the hardest situation. And like, I know a lot of people listening, and I could speak to the same thing, especially if we have bigger families and stuff, or close friends, like in some way addiction touches all of us. And obviously we'll get to how it ended up.
It runs heavy in my family.
Yeah, coming into your life with you. But like at the time, that wasn't your battle yet. But I think the most difficult part whenever I hear these stories and whenever I've been around them is like, sometimes like life pushes someone into that situation, right? Something that's out of their control. In this case, you have like a beautiful sister who's great and shirt off her back, shoes off her feet kind of person. And, she gets beat up by 3 marriages that were so fucked up, and she's forced to grow up at 14 with a kid. Like these are things that are enormous obstacles for people in life.
Normal.
Not
outside
normal.
of the norm, yes.
Not normal. Yeah. So eventually, like, things go wrong enough that, like you said, like her self-confidence is down, everything. And at some point, the one decision happens where you turn to something to numb it.
Yeah.
And then the way our human brains work is unfortunately like we get addicted to that. But point being, the person doesn't change. The person is still the amazing person
Yeah.
It's like a demon kind of takes over them, and you're in this, not to be crude about it in this case, but you're like stuck between a shit and a fart, because in a way you are, if you support them no matter what, you feel like you then enable it.
Yeah,
right?
enabling it. Yeah.
But then if you cut them off, you're like, oh my God, am I pushing them into a corner where in this case, obviously, and so many of us know where this happens, like, the worst thing happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know it's clear you beat yourself up over that and stuff, but it's like, what are you supposed to do?
You're right. I did beat myself up, but I realized, there's really nothing. I didn't do anything wrong. And I think my sister would have done the same thing to me if I were in that situation. So I know I did the right thing, but it still sucks. It feels bad,
Yeah. Now you, as you alluded to already, you ended up at some point after all these litany of crazy injuries, you get turned on to painkillers. When was the first time that happened? And, what was the conversation like?
I knew
with the
I was
doctor?
hooked the first time I did it. I broke my neck for the second time, the first time in WWE. That was against Brock Lesnar. A doctor introduces me to painkillers. And
what specifically?
Vicodin, extra strength Vicodin. So they were 10s, not 5s. And the first one I took, I was like, wow, like this woke me up. I feel energized. I don't feel the pain. I feel like I'm invincible. Like that's the feeling I was getting. And the unfortunate thing about painkillers is after a while, one doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Then you have to take 2. Your body builds a tolerance. And then 2 turns to 4, and then 4 turns to 8. I mean, before I knew it, I was taking 65 extra strength.
65
a day. Enough to kill a horse. And
how about 10 horses?
Yes. And not only that, but I was getting injured quite a bit, which didn't help with the painkiller problem.
When did you first take one? Do you remember?
2003, I believe it was right after WrestleMania when I wrestled Brock. And I knew I was hooked. You know what? I was okay. I mean, I was taking one every 4 to 6 hours as directed. But, after about a month, it was like, they're not working anymore. They were working a little bit with my pain, but they weren't working with the high I was getting, and you get addicted to that high.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm not getting much of a feeling out of it anymore. I'll take 2. 2 won't, 2's not much more than 1. So I started taking 2, and then, After a couple of weeks, it was like, okay, I'm not feeling anything anymore. Give me 3. And it just kept adding up and adding up. And before I knew it, at one point in time, I would wake up in the morning sweating, going through withdrawal, okay, like sick to my stomach. And I'd have 20 painkillers waiting on the table right there.
20.
I'd grab them, throw them in my mouth, chew them up, and swallow them. And I'd be okay for 5 or 6 hours. And then I'd do it again.
How do you train with this?
I don't know. I was functioning. That's the crazy thing. I was functioning the whole time.
Did you,
Now at night, I would take Soma along with the
Soma?
painkillers.
What's that?
How do I explain it? It's a sleep product.
Like
Muscle
Ambien?
relaxer. Muscle relaxer.
Okay.
Okay, I would take Somas and I would pass out. Like literally from the drugs, from the Vicodin and the Soma, I would be messed up. I would pass out. Like I would wake up fully clothed with my winter jacket on, like, because I would take my stuff before I'd come into my hotel room. I'd drink it in the car, a couple pills and my Soma and drink something. I'd go into my hotel room and I'd lay down and I'd pass out just like the way I was.
Is there a point where you have your subconscious talking to you where you maybe don't admit it to yourself, but there's some little voice in the back of your head that says, uh-oh, I'm developing a problem?
Yes, but I was saying, you know what, I'll deal with that when I get in real trouble. It was one of those, put it off. You're okay. You're good right now. I know you're taking 5 right now, but 5's okay. Just as long as you don't take 6. Then 6 would come. Oh, you're taking 6, but it's okay.
7.
Just don't take 7. Yeah, and it just kept going up and up.
Are you in between marriages at this point?
No. The thing is, I left the WWE and I left where I wasn't taking painkillers anymore. What I was doing though, I was taking a small dose of morphine so I wouldn't go through withdrawal. This doctor gave me these little pills called MS Contin.
Wow.
10 milligrams, very small pills. And they would keep me from having withdrawal. So I take 2 of them a day, 1 every 12 hours. They wouldn't mess me up, just kept me from having withdrawal.
Kind of like Suboxone for heroin.
Yes, exactly. But what I started doing when I went to TNA, because everybody drank alcohol there, I never drank alcohol. Now I'm drinking alcohol all the time.
Oh, you got into that?
Yeah.
Like peer pressure kind of thing, or?
Nope. Just
did it naturally.
I want to get another high, another way.
Shit looks good.
Yep. So that got me 4 DUIs in 5 years. My life spun out of control.
Were you on
I
any
lost my
painkillers?
reputation. No.
None.
No, but I was taking Xanax and I was taking Soma and I was drinking alcohol.
All right.
I got 4 DUIs in 5 years. I was careless, reckless, out of control, irresponsible, and I was at the lowest point in my life. And I remember calling my wife, my second wife, and thing is, like, I literally, when I go home from wrestling after a tour, I go home and at 7 o'clock I drink a 12-pack of beer, take a few Xanax and pass out.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't spend any time with my wife or my kids. It just got so bad out of control. I was going to lose my marriage. I mean, after my 4th DUI, I called my wife from jail, and she said, I can't take this anymore. You either go to rehab or I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. I was like, fuck, I better go to rehab.
All right, so you're going, but at that point, because like you may be off painkillers, but like you said, you're drinking a lot,
Yep.
not good.
I switched the drug.
Yeah,
That's what an addict does.
and you're taking Xanax. I mean, that's a hard drug. Taking that all the time, and you said Soma too. Was that in
Muscle
there?
relaxers,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're taking a cocktail, no pun intended, of stuff like every day.
Yeah.
And when did you meet your wife again? 06?
I met her I met her on a movie set in 2009.
Okay.
And then 2010 on another movie set, and I didn't like have a date with her until 2012. So we met after I got divorced from my former wife.
Okay.
Okay, and it was in 2012. She was living in California, still doing movies, and I was in Pittsburgh. And I called her out of the blue, and because I remember her from the different movie sets that we did, and I told her, that I got a divorce, and she's asked me how everything's going because her family's from Pittsburgh, and So we ended up going on a date, and that started it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say probably within 4 or 5 months, we were engaged.
Wow.
And then it was quick. It was really quick.
True love.
Yeah, yeah. And she's really mature. She was 23 at the time. I was, 41. I'm 18 years older.
Good math right there.
Yeah, yeah. I know. But she's the love of my life. I mean, the first one, I knew I wasn't sure when I got married, and I know why that didn't pan out.
Why'd you do it?
I felt badly because we were in a relationship, and I broke up with her, and I caused a lot of turmoil for her, and I felt guilty about it.
Mm.
And I almost wanted to make things right again by getting back with her and trying to make it work. But I knew the whole time, I was like, my brother Eric was even like, hey, Kurt, I have the getaway car in case, at the wedding you want to. But he was serious. Like, they all knew I was unsure about it. And I should have never went into it. It was the wrong decision. And we ended up having kids.
How many kids did you have?
We had 2 kids.
Okay.
And unfortunately for them, they have to deal with a divorced family because of my decision,
Well, I mean, yeah, look, hindsight's 20/20 on a lot of stuff, but especially with women, we make weird choices in life.
Yes,
sometimes.
we do. Yes,
it is
we
what
do.
it is. It seems like you got it right on the second try.
I did,
which is
definitely.
good.
Yeah.
And so Giovanna, your second wife, she's the one who, when you were at your lowest moment, you called when you were like in jail for DUI. or
Yeah,
something.
very strong-minded woman, and she said, "Listen, I'm not sticking around for you."
Were you back? I'm trying to keep the timeline right in my head, so I'm sorry if I'm off here. Were you back on full painkillers at that time, or was that where it was just the Xanax, Soma?
That was just
and
the
alcohol?
Xanax and Soma.
Okay. Was there a point where you went back to Vicodin?
No, I even had knee surgeries, and the doctor prescribed me Vicodin, and I gave the prescriptions to my wife.
Okay, so
And she MF'd the doctors. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah.
So wait a minute. You were taking up to 65 Vicodin a day in maybe like 07, 06, something like that?
06, yeah.
Okay. Even though you changed and didn't do the right thing, you went to other drugs, you technically just stopped that?
Yeah, I went through a withdrawal bad.
What was that like?
But what happened was this doctor tells me, hey, get off of the painkillers. Don't get on anything else. Just drink warm milk is what he told me. He said that will help you feel better.
I mean,
so I'm doing this, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like after 4 days, so I call my doctor, and I'm like, the WWE doctor told me to drink milk, but it's not working. He said that he's fucking crazy. He said, come to me. I'm going to give you a drug that's going to help you. It's the MS Contin, where you're going to give you a little small dose of morphine. So that's when, when that all happened.
Okay.
That occurred after that.
So that at least weaned you off that, but you just replaced it with other things. And the end result for you is still the same. You're out of it constantly. You're using throughout the day. Is a lot of the memories of those years like a little blurry?
Yep. Unfortunately, and my oldest, or my third kid, that's my oldest kid to my second family, I missed a lot of her childhood.
Is that Kira?
Yep, Kira. Yeah. I mean, I'm making up for it now, but I did miss a lot of her early years when she was a baby, when she was 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. So she's now 14.
But when you met your second wife, you were like literally when you met her, you were in the middle of having these problems too.
Yes.
So
yes,
she
I
just
was.
always knew you.
She knew it. She knew it was coming with the territory. But when I first met her, I kind of hid it from her because I would stay up late until she fell asleep, and then I start pounding the beers. And I would drink them then, and then I would throw a couple of Soma in my mouth and pass out. So I did it when she was sleeping. But after a while, I got comfortable with her, started doing it at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'd just pass out.
Yeah.
I'd be on the couch, and I would see pictures of myself. My wife took pictures just so I'd feel ashamed, because that's how she is. She's gonna, tell me like it is. And I would have a dip in my mouth, and it'd be like halfway out, and I'd be like passed out.
You're out of it, yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't remember that. But, you know, it happened. So, you know, I made myself look like a real fucking idiot in front of my wife. But
Well, it's also because, like, again, it wasn't like you just decided to do that one day though. Like you literally broke your
no.
neck fucking
Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah.
And a doctor's trying to help you because dealing with that, like, I can't even fathom that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
you know, the crazy thing is, I had this system. I was such a organized addict. I had this system where I was going to 12 different doctors. Okay. And they were prescribing me medication, 120 pills. Wait, how much was it? Six a day times 30 days, 180 pills. So every month I was getting 12 doctors' prescriptions. Now I had to go to 12 different pharmacies.
What about
Now-
insurance?
Okay, well, screw the insurance. Okay? I had money, so that wasn't a problem. All right, so I had 12 doctors making me 12 different prescriptions, and I had to make sure I had to go to 12 different pharmacies because if I crossed over went to the same pharmacy, they'd catch me, and you get in trouble to have, you know, 2 scripts at one pharmacy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was very well organized, and so I was getting about 180. That's 12. About 2,000 pills a month. So I was getting these from the doctors and going to the pharmacies and getting the different pharmacies. But now today you can't go to a different pharmacy because they're all in connection with each
Right.
other now.
That's how I know it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So back
then it was Wild West. So I was able to get away with it. But not only that, but I was buying 500 illegally from Mexico.
Oh my God.
So that's another 500 pills. And so I was taking 2,500
per
pills
what?
a month.
500, buying 500 per month from Mexico?
Yes, yes. So I was getting the 12 prescriptions plus the 500 pills. And I was eating all of them.
And this is when we're talking about Vicodin.
Yes.
Okay.
Extra strength, 10s, not 5s.
Yeah, you ever seen like any of those documentaries or read any of the books on like the Sacklers and that whole thing?
No.
So they're the family that was in charge of Purdue Pharma, which basically invented OxyContin
Yeah.
and put it on the street. It is because, you know, it's modern history. This isn't long ago, right? It is wild to read about what they did to normal people who
Did they know that this was addictive? And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's all been what was that? Maybe you would remember this, Alessi, but they got sued. Like they had to settle with the United States government for what? Can we Google it? Sackler settlement with the government for like billions of dollars. And it's not like they should be in prison what they
Right,
did
right.
because like we sit here and righteously yell at like the cartels in Mexico for the shit they
Right,
do.
and they're the ones doing it legally.
They're doing it with just, you know, a company name on their door. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
You know, and so you see this and unfortunately, and it sounds like this is similar with your case, so many doctors got very, I don't know, like liberal with how they would hand out these prescriptions. Like, oh, you need some painkillers? Here you go. And unfortunately they enabled it. Yeah, we have the article right here. Go up.
This part.
So as the nation continues to grapple with the opioid epidemic, the Sackler family has agreed to pay $6 billion to families and states as part of an agreement to wind down Purdue Pharma. Wind it down. They're going to let them do it nicely. The maker of OxyContin, in exchange, the Sackler family would be immunized from future civil liability claims.
Oh, wow.
Now, I think I might be remembering this wrong, so people correct me in the comments. I think some of this, the government got so much backlash that there are still some open cases now. And, you know, hopefully...
There should be. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
But you're like a living example of like the downstream effects of that. Again, it's not like you went out to the club one night and said, "Oh, let me party with OxyContin." That's not how this went. You know,
I
this
got it from a doctor, yeah.
right. You got it from a doctor to treat injuries, which is what it's supposed to be for. But it just got out of control. So you have that low moment with your wife where she's like, "You either got to get help or this is it." You know.
Yeah. She said, you either go to rehab or I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. And she was serious. And,
What year is this?
That was,
15 or 16?
2013.
13. Okay.
Yeah. About a year after we got married.
And so you went to rehab. What was that like?
Oh, fucking horrible. The first 7 days was just withdrawal. And I don't know if you've ever been through withdrawal, but it's the worst experience I've ever experienced. It's the reason why I don't take them anymore. I don't ever want to have that feeling again.
What was it? Could you describe it?
You're throwing up and shitting your pants at the same time. You're hot and cold at the same time. Your skin's crawling. You don't feel like you have any insides. You don't feel like you have any organs in your body. You feel like you're hollow. Your skin is just, if you touch it, it just kills you. So it's just all these different symptoms going on at the same time. And you're sweating your ass off. And it's just the most uncomfortable feeling I could possibly even throw at you. I don't even know any other way to tell it, but it's an excruciating pain 24/7.
And that's
for 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
Does it feel like time's like stopped? Like it doesn't feel like 7 days?
Yes, it feels like forever. It feels like this is going on for years. And you can't sleep. So you're awake the whole time. And you know what? Just to let you know, it's been 11 years since I took a painkiller. And there's a reason for that, because I don't ever want to go through that experience again.
Yeah. But are you, I mean,
I can't forget it.
That's probably a good thing,
Yeah.
that part, that, you know, you can at least relive that type of feeling. I've heard some of my friends who had battles with opioid addiction and stuff, like they've said the same thing. It's like you get that devil out of your body and you're like, I never want to go through that exorcism again.
No.
But, you know, is it like one of those things where you're in this horrible pain, which is also ironic because you literally did your whole career in insane pain and were able to get through it, and yet this is the worst thing you battle. Like, are you just thinking about your family in there? Like, I'm going to come out and be better for them?
Yeah. I don't want to just do it for me. I want to do it for my kids. I took so much away from them, and I felt obligated to get clean because, you know, I literally missed so many moments with my wife and my oldest girl, Juliana. Did you say Kira last time?
Yeah.
Okay, no, the oldest one is Juliana.
Got it.
For my second marriage, yeah. Kira's the oldest one, period.
From your first marriage, yeah.
But what was I saying about?
You were saying you were thinking about the time you lost with your family.
Yeah, just losing all those moments with my daughter Juliana and my wife Giovanna. It's sad because, you know, I remember when I came home after I was in jail and my wife was crying and she was so angry at me. And she just kept saying, you know, how could you do this? How could you do this to our family? Why are you so addicted? Why can't you just stop? You know, and it was like, I want to, but I can't.
Right.
Like I would do anything to be able to do it. And she was like, then do it. I'm like, it's not that easy, you know? And so she's like, well, you need to go to rehab. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to rehab. And you know what? The whole time I was in rehab, I was so nervous that I was going to fuck up when I got back out. That's all that tormented me the whole
Even
time.
after the withdrawal where you were like, I never want to feel that again?
I was like, you know what? You're still going to fuck up. You're going to go back to it. And I was so scared to go out of rehab. I didn't want to leave.
Well, aren't you also because now you're physically in pain?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, obviously,
because you're feeling everything now.
Feeling soreness and, you know, the scars and the you know, the injuries that occurred with my body was, you know, I was feeling it. Yeah, definitely. Because when I was taking the painkillers, I couldn't feel any pain.
Right.
You know, I felt like I was 100% healthy, even though I wasn't. But yeah, I just felt so like I betrayed my wife, and it really hit me hard. And I knew that I needed to get clean for them, for my wife and my kids, and so I didn't have a choice.
What did your mom and brothers say about all this? Where were they during this?
Well, considering that, you know, most people in my family have had addictions themselves, they didn't say a lot. My mom just kept asking me if I'm okay. She never, you know, you would think that your mother would be the one that, you know, would say, listen, you got to, you know, play hardball with you. Say, listen, I'm not going to talk to you if you continue to do this. You know, I said that to my sister. My mother never said that to me. And I think it's because, you know, all mothers don't ever want to have to tell their kids that.
Yeah.
But I think if she would have told me that, I think I probably would have listened to her. But she never did. And I don't know why.
Did you ever think back? Like, when did your sister pass away, Leanne?
That was in 2004.
Okay. So that was right after you initially started taking painkillers. So maybe you don't even realize, that's like an issue yet.
Well, when she died, my brother Eric called me. And I just got done wrestling at a house show, an untelevised show. And I had the most important match of my career coming up the next day. It was a 1-hour Ironman match against Brock Lesnar. And who was it? Wait a minute. Who are we talking about?
We were talking about your sister.
My sister?
And when she
died.
When she died in 2004,
Okay,
and your brother called you
yes.
before Lesnar.
My brother Eric calls me the night before. I just got done wrestling at a house show, at an untelevised show. And I'm getting ready for the biggest match of my career the next day. My brother Eric calls me and says, "Hey, listen, your sister Leanne just died with a heroin overdose." And I was devastated. I remember I grabbed about 30 pills. I looked up at the ceiling and I threw them in my mouth and I chewed them up and swallowed them, and I passed out. I didn't wake up till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The WWE's trying to get a hold of me to tell me, they're trying to get a hold of me all day long to tell me I don't have to show up for TV. I could go home and plan a funeral for my sister. And I remember when I woke up, I called Vince and I told him, "Hey, okay, thank you. I think I'm going to go home." And I looked up at the ceiling again and I said, "Leanne, what do you want me to do?" And all I could hear is, "Do it for me. Do it for me." So I called Vince and I said, "Listen, I'm going to wrestle. I want to do it for my sister." And I went and wrestled. And what's crazy is it was the greatest match of my career. I don't know how or why, but what was going on in my mind at that particular time. But I had the greatest match of my life the day after my sister died. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was just like me wanting to do it for her, or an extra, it gave me extra strength because, she was up there rooting for me. I don't know what it was. But I had the greatest match of my career against Brock Lesnar, and it was a 1-hour Ironman match, which is the most difficult match you can have.
Why is that?
Because it's the longest. It's an hour long. Very few matches go 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Usually they're around 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
This is 1 hour.
Now, so I didn't realize it was already that bad in 2004 when she died. Like, you're popping 30 pills just to go to sleep. So there's not the thought in your head like, oh, shit.
And I'm telling her, I'm not going to talk to you until you get clean.
So you
talk
don't
about
have
a hypocrite.
Yeah, you don't have that realization that there's a hypocrisy there. Yeah. So now, fast forward like a decade or so later, when you're going through this at your low moment, are you thinking back to like that same thing? Because your wife offers to or says like, "I'm going to take this away," and you're like, "Oh my God, that's the same thing I had to give to my sister." Like, I know that there's only two possibilities of how this ends.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I felt obligated to my wife. Definitely. I had no other way to say it. Yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah.
And now you're present with your family and everything.
Yeah, you know what? I still feel guilty about it. I mean, it's one of those things that you look back and you go, man, why the fuck was I so messed up back then? Why was I thinking the way I was thinking? I had this beautiful wife, and we have 4 beautiful kids, and it was not necessary. But, and then I think about, okay, you were working your ass off. They were overworking you. You were getting injured all the time. You didn't have anything to make you feel better but these pills. And so I understood why I did it. And, having an understanding makes me be able to have peace with what I was able to do. Because it makes me realize, okay, I'm human. And we all make mistakes. And sometimes we make some really drastic mistakes. But it was for a reason. I was having a lot of pain and I wanted to relieve the pain. And then after a while, I just wanted to get high.
Yeah.
It turns you into a druggie. And, that's the hardest thing to get through. That's when you start going through withdrawal, and where it becomes difficult. And it's really difficult to come clean that way.
But you're also, you're this larger than life figure. You know, you're literally like you're an athlete. People we talked about earlier, people like look up to you and everything. And I gotta think in the back of your mind, like part of that, the show goes on. Like I gotta keep doing this, and whatever I gotta do to do that is because you are Kurt Angle. You're tough. Like these kids got to see you come out and know that you're not affected the same way.
You're
as
right.
other
You're
people.
right. I felt that way, and I felt like, I want to give these kids, these people, a great show, and I want to represent my family, and I want to, I want to show that there's, I'm not having any problems and everything is cool with me. And there was a lot of hiding during that situation, but I did want to make a lot of people proud, and by taking those pills, they were enabling me to get through the pain, so that I was able to do it. But it got so bad to where I was basically like getting myself high.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the pain anymore. It was about how high I could make myself feel.
Are you a religious guy too?
Yeah.
Have you always been that way?
Yes. Yeah. Grew up as a Catholic. My parents, we did the CCD thing, got, communion, confirmation, everything. Crazy thing is, I'll tell you this, when I went to get married with my second wife, I went to my church, and this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I went to my church to get them to approve that I could get married, and I could get married in their church. And they asked me if I take envelopes from them. And I said, no, not now. And they said, well, we can't do it for you.
If you'd what?
Take envelopes where you donate every week. They give you envelopes. Because I wasn't taking envelopes. They wouldn't let me get married.
They wanted pay to play.
They wanted pay to play, yeah.
The Vatican would
never. And it was
never.
like, what the hell? I never heard it. So I went to another church, and the guy's like, that's bullshit. The priest says, we'll marry you. So my own church deceived me. But no, I've always believed in a higher power. I believed in God, believed in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I actually credit him to getting me clean. I did a lot of praying during that time. And I've been a big believer, and that's how we're raising our kids.
Yeah.
We go to church every Sunday. They go to CCD. We have to make it very important that it becomes part of their life.
And that's like a source of strength to you to this day, obviously.
Yes, definitely.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Well, you've had a real journey. You packed many decades into
100 years into 55.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think it's more like 200 at this point. Like you've really packed it in. But today you're helping. I understand, like a lot of addicts as well, and advising them on how to.
I've been really open about it, and a lot of people commend me on that. Because I've always wanted to help others. I don't want people to have to go through my situation, and I know they're going to, but I also want them to know there's hope, and there's a chance for you to get clean and to live a regular life, and that, I had somebody that wants me to do a cameo for them, and it's because they feel less than nothing, and they have to have alcohol, because if they don't have alcohol, they have no meaning in life. It's like, wait a minute. They've reduced themselves to the point that alcohol is the only thing in their life that they want. That's what they're worth, is drinking alcohol. It's like, where are you? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a family? Do you have a job? Like, is it really that bad that the only thing you look forward to is drinking alcohol? Like, there's got to be something else in your life that, that makes you intrigued. Not just drinking alcohol every night. And it was like, wow, those are the people I want to reach out to and say, listen, there are other things out there. There are things that will make you worthy or make you feel worthy of your life. Whether it's a job or a relationship or whatever it is, or it's your faith in God, you got to have something that makes you feel valuable. Not just, I love the drug.
Yeah.
That's all I live for. Is a drug. It's like, man, that's not the right way to go about life.
Well, that is something you were really lucky with. Like, you had an amazing family and everything. Like, and you have like the legacy of who you are. So there is a lot to go to there. But to your point, like, I feel horrible for the people who are in addiction where they feel like they don't, just like that, where they don't have anything.
Yeah, and they think that's the only thing they have. That that's what they're living for. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt the same way. I was like, please don't take my pills away from me. You know, I remember going into rehab. First thing I did is I took a handful of pills, threw my mouth, and I said to my wife, "Take me to jail." Like, you know, it's from a movie. I forget what movie it's called.
Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas. So
Take me to prison.
yeah. So I popped 30 pills before I went in there, and I paid the price when I went through withdrawal, though.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the latest with your pain that you deal with and everything? We were talking off camera before, but like, you know, it's not like all these injuries go away. You're dealing with that.
No, I have a lot of pain. None in my knees. My knee replacements worked extremely well.
That's great.
I couldn't ask for anything better than these. But my back is still not that great. My shoulders aren't that great. My neck is a mess. So I do a lot of managing of the pain. I do a lot of exercises, you know, neck stretches, and my exercise where I do the chicken thing to get flexibility in my neck. I do stimulation. I do anti-gravity.
Stimulation?
I stretch. I do yoga. Muscle stim, where you put stims on it's electric. Like electrodes through your.
Oh,
you know,
I've seen that.
Yeah, trainers do that. Yeah, athletes do it. You know, when they're injured. Yeah, so I do stimulation. I do anti-gravity, where I hang upside down for my lower back. I do a lot of yoga and stretching.
Oh, you're doing yoga?
Yeah, but you know what? I can't really lift weights, so that's the only thing I can do. I can't even run because of my knees. So, you know, my cardio's limited and my weightlifting's limited. So
you do the bike?
Try to do core training, and yeah, I do the bike, the Airdyne in particular. But I do whatever I can that makes me feel better, you know, and I do a lot of maintenance every day. It's, you know, the stretches I have to do for my neck and my, you know, I have to stretch in a doorway, get my pecs, because my neck goes forward. So my neck, I lost the arch of my neck. My neck is straight now. And it's because I have poor posture. I'm leaned forward. So I have to get my shoulders back so my head goes back. And so I have to do a lot of stretching that way. So my posture stays normal, because that takes the alleviation of the pain off my neck when I'm not leaning forward, when I'm back.
You were saying that after you went on Joe Rogan's show last year, though, people were reaching out, trying to give you ideas on what to do with your neck.
Yeah, I had doctors calling me, reaching out to me, my manager. You know, I had a doctor that wanted to do artificial disc replacement. I think I told you about that.
Yeah, that was off camera. Can you explain that to people?
Yeah, they wanted to take the discs out of my neck and put new discs in, rubber discs. And that would alleviate the problems I was having with my discs, because I have a lot of discs that have a lot cut out from the surgeries I've had where they were blocking the nerves. So I have a little bit of a disc in each between each vertebrae instead of a full disc, because I had so many of them cut out, part of them cut out. So putting those discs in would alleviate the pain in my neck. The problem is my neck fused entirely. So I don't have any more discs anymore. I just have bone in my neck. So it all fused together. Yeah. Oh. So there's no more discs. They're all fused in with the bone. So there's nothing I can do. There's no surgery. There's no rehab method. I just have to deal with the pain. And I've tried stem cell. Doesn't work. I'm going to try peptides here. I heard they might have come to good use. But I really, my options are really open.
Hang in there, because you're otherwise in really good shape. Like,
your technology, they're probably going to come up with some where I could get a new neck.
Right. Yeah. I'm feeling like the next 5 to 10 years might get a little weird.
Yeah, they got shoulder replacements, knee replacements. Maybe they have a neck replacement.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole new you, except your head. Your head will still be there.
I need a brain too. I don't have much of that.
Did you get like a lot of concussions when you were doing WWE?
Yeah. One night, I don't remember.
That's not good.
I had a triple threat match with The Rock and Triple H, and he hit his finish move on a table, an announce table. And the problem is the table gave too early, because it was Jimmy that was supposed to break on purpose when he put me through the table. But he went to do it, and the table collapsed, and I went straight down on my head. Ooh. And my head hit the concrete. And I was out. I mean, I was snoring. I was out. And Triple H was trying to wake me up, slap me in the face. And so they wheeled me backstage. Listen to this. This is crazy. So I'm backstage. Okay, I'm having a concussion. Vince wants me back out there.
Oh, my God.
So he's like, somebody, get him up. Let's go. We got to get him back there. And like, and they sent me footage of this. Like, it's crazy. But
That's
so
good for a
Vince wants me to
lawsuit.
get back in the ring. And so he has his daughter, Stephanie, carry me or assist me back to the ring. So she's holding me and she's getting me back to the ring. And now she has to tell me what to do because I have no idea what I'm doing in the match because I'm out of it. I don't even know I'm there. So I get to the ring and I'm at the edge of the ring and she says, listen, The Rock's going to come and hit the ropes. You have to grab his foot, grab it and pull him out of the ring. So I go, okay. So The Rock hits the ropes. I grab him. He falls. I pull him out of the ring. Then she goes, pick him up. like I should know this. And I pick him up and I look at her and she's like, throw him into the steps. So I throw him in the steps and I'm like, I look at her and she's like, get in the ring. So I get in the ring and she's like, oh my God. So Triple H is calling me through the whole match. He's leading me through the whole match. Thank God he was in there because I would have never finished. But I don't remember anything about that night.
Yeah,
I
can
woke
imagine.
up at 4 a.m. in a hospital bed. I was like, what happened? They said, well, you got a pretty bad concussion.
Yeah, I'll say.
I said, what happened in the match? I don't remember any of it. They said, well, you finished. I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad I finished.
How many concussions would you estimate you sustained?
That I know of, probably 4.
And then if you had to guess that you don't know of.
I had my bell rung a couple of times, so probably 7 or 8. Yeah.
Your head feel okay these
Yeah,
days?
you know what? I am forgetting a lot of stuff. My memory used to be really sharp. I don't know if it's from the concussions or from the drugs, but it might be from both. But
Good.
my memory is nearly as good as it used to be. My wife even says, "You don't remember this from last week?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
She's
You gotta
like,
watch
"Oh,
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
don't
good
know if I'm
resources.
getting Parkinson's. I don't know.
Well, let's not talk this stuff into existence.
I don't want to speed up the process.
Yeah. But there's a lot of good tools to be able to help with that these days. I had this amazing woman in here, Luisa Nicola, recently. I think I connected you with her, right, Lauren?
Yeah.
So she is a neuro-performance expert. I had her in for episode 230. So you ever see the show Billions by any chance?
No.
Okay. Well, there's a woman in the show that basically, like, she does the same thing that woman Wendy Rhodes does in the show, but she works with everything from, like, professional athletes to high-level executives where she creates, and I'm going to fuck up the terms here, she's going to kill me, but, like, new neural pathways for them to basically, like, expand their brain matter, if you will, and perform at a higher level. But she does everything down to the blood work and reading all different variables that like regular doctors don't read and stuff. Yeah. I want to show you some of her things afterwards because her specialty is actually like working to end dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff, which is obviously where the brain goes if it has deterioration.
Are we close to getting a cure for that, or is it?
I'm not the guy to ask that. You know,
touch and go.
It definitely feels still very touch and go. That's a tough one there, but I know like people like her are working on it. And what's great is that she's coming at it from like outside the pharma industry, you know, just trying to invent a drug to throw at it right away. She's coming at it from a performance standpoint. So I feel like, you know, in a perfect world, we get some sort of mix there where the industries work hand in hand and eventually get something, because that is a particularly terrible disease because people forget who they are. You know?
Yeah, it is scary too. You know, I'm starting to get certain symptoms, but you know, I've been through a lot, and
you have.
I know I fried my brain with drugs, and I fried my brain with concussions. So, you know, it's I still feel fairly normal.
You look great.
Well, I don't feel great, but I'm glad you said that because it makes me feel good about what I'm doing for myself.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just difficult. You know, every day I wake up, it's like, oh, I got to get out of bed. You know, and it's like once I get up and I'm moving, I'm good. But it takes a while for me to get moving. You know?
And you don't have that thought about like, you know, one Xanax or whatever.
No. You know, I've been clean for like 13 years.
Yeah.
So it used to come up, but you know, it gets better in time. So after a while, you don't miss it. You know, it just becomes habit. I'm not going to take it anymore. It's fine. So I'm okay. I don't get tempted anymore. I used to, but I don't get tempted anymore.
What made you want to do the documentary and lay it all out there?
You know what? I got approached for that, and it was by a young producer in Hollywood. His name was Alex Perry. He was a big wrestling fan, and he knew my story, and so he said, "Listen, I'd love to do a documentary on you," and you know, he's like, "We could make a lot of money," and I thought, "Okay, I make some money." By the way, I didn't get a penny for it, so I didn't make any money. But the reason why is because WWE bought it. So he sold out to WWE when he probably should have shopped it around to Netflix or, you know. So WWE got the documentary and they aired it on Peacock, which isn't worldwide. And I wanted it to reach all over the world because I wanted to help people with addiction. So, but unfortunately, the WWE, all they did with it was showed it on Peacock, which is fine. And then they gave it to A&E to air. And then A&E is put it on YouTube. So now you can look at it for free on YouTube, and I didn't get a dime for it. And I know people made money from it. WWE, I know Alex might have made some money, but I didn't make any.
Well, I will say the documentary was excellent, and
he did a great job.
Yeah,
yes.
It tells, and like you're really raw in there as well. And I thought you were today too. By the way, I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Walking us through all this stuff. But like, it is such an inspiring story, and I hope that through the biopic you talked about earlier that they're working on, that can reach a lot of people and become a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah, reach the whole world. Yeah,
that'd be so cool. Yeah. But Kurt, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Thank you, man. You know what? I know this is 3 hours, but it seems like an hour.
That's what I want to hear.
It flew by quickly.
It did fly by. Yeah. You're a great storyteller, so that
helps.
Thank you.
Thank you. So are you.
Also, Lauren, thank you so much for hooking this up.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And we will have your links down in the description so people can donate to Kurt on KurtAngle.com.
KurtAngle.org.
KurtAngle.org. We got that right in the description. And they can donate to help fundraise for the 2028 Olympic wrestling team.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. Thank you, and we'll do it again sometime.
All right, sounds good.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dory Podcast or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dory. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dory Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you.